There's a difference between asking questions where you are unsure whether or not he's going to tell you the truth. And obviously, if you're a journalist, every politician is like lying to you, right? So you should always have a healthy dose of skepticism and be as critical as possible. But here, the 60 Minutes is not asking him questions so he can, give some kind of shaky answer, and then 60 Minutes tries to like arrive at the truth. It's pure propaganda. This is no different than Benjamin Netanyahu basically doing a 60-minute talk to Americans directly on CBS. Obviously, that would be a little bit boring, so you got to cut it back and forth between a guy who's like seemingly asking questions. Because if you notice, there's not a single setup question here. So far, it's been 11 minutes. And there has not been a single setup question where you're like, what did you do here? Why did you do this? No follow-ups whatsoever. You just let him lie over and over again, and then you just move on. It turns out when you're the real president of the United States of America, Benjamin Netanyahu, you don't even just get 60 minutes. You get 78 minutes and 48 seconds. Unbelievable.
Mr. Prime Minister, good to see you.
Good to be with you.
Is the war with Iran over? And if it isn't, who will decide when it is?
I think it accomplished a great deal, but it's not over because there's still nuclear material, enriched uranium that has to be taken out of Iran. There's still...
I want to issue a trigger warning here. You are about to watch unlimited ass kissing, dick sucking, calluses in the hands, calluses in the back of the throat. This is smut.
Enrichment sites that have to be dismantled. There are still proxies that Iran supports. There are ballistic missiles that they still want to produce. Now, we've degraded a lot of it, but all of that is still there, and there's work to be done. President Trump...
This war cannot end until all those things are eliminated.
Well, certainly we want to get the nuclear material out. We certainly want to get the enrichment sites dismantled. We've curbed a lot. We've degraded a lot of the missile production sites, but the agreement should cover all these areas, including the proxies. Can it end with, as President Trump has led now, a blockade and economic pressure on them to do it with non-military means? Fine. If it can be accomplished, why not? But if not, both the United States and Israel.
Oh my God, he's literally saying he doesn't even like that Trump is doing the blockade because he wants Trump to just get back to bombing Iran. What a freak ass bitch this guy is. The rest of the world's like, why are we even doing this at all? Like, why are we doing the double blockade? Just do a ceasefire. Benjamin Netanyahu's like, well, I don't really like that he's doing a blockade instead of just like bombing Iran, but whatever.
Both agree, President Trump and I, that if necessary, we can re-engage them militarily, if it's necessary.
If it's necessary. How do you envision the highly enriched uranium will be removed from Iran?
You go in and you take it out.
With what? Special forces from Israel, special forces from the United States working in tandem under international supervision? How?
Well, I'm not going to talk about military means, but what President Trump has said to me, I want to go in there. He said that publicly. He said it, and I think he's right. He's very committed to this. And I think it can be done physically. That's not...
Yeah, sure. Israeli ground troops, okay.
The problem. If you have an agreement and you go in and you take it out, why not? That's the best way.
What if there isn't an agreement? Can it be taken out by force?
Well, you're going to ask me these questions. I'm going to dodge them. So you can ask me that second time, third time, and I'll dodge it second time, third time. Because I'm not going to talk about our military possibilities, plans, or anything of the kind. And I think you understand that.
I do understand that. But it's of great concern to the American people and the people of Israel how long this will take. And absent an agreement, what kind of things should they prepare for?
I think the most important thing for people to understand in America and in Israel, I think they do understand it, but for in the world, in Europe, you have to understand, Iran that declares not merely death to Israel, but death to America. That's what they want to achieve. They don't not only want to kill Americans, which they have, killed and wounded them by the thousands, burned up your embassies, killed your Marines, burned your flags, tried to assassinate the President of the United States and some of your chief officials several times. They're committed to destroy America. They say that, okay? Their commitment involved their plans over the years to build nuclear bombs and the means to deliver them to the United States.
It's pretty crazy that mainstream media will just have like a war criminal on to begin with, a genocide heir, but I guess that's expected. But it's a foreign genocide heir, a foreign war criminal, And they won't even like hold his feet to the fire. Like he's lying right now. It's like, well, there's no evidence for this. Like you've been saying this for 35 years. Why hasn't there ever been real evidence that materialized?
They were very close to developing a nuclear bomb. Okay? Very close. In fact, if we hadn't done the 2 military operations that we did, they'd have a bomb within now or within a month or two. Now, you don't want a fanatic regime like that, that hates America, that has no compunction of murdering its own citizen, murdering and wounding tens.
Yeah. Who would ever want a theocratic, religious fundamentalist nut job state to have nuclear arms in that region? Yeah. Look in the mirror, man. Look in the mirror, bitch.
Of thousands of its own citizens. You don't want them to have nuclear weapons. That's what prompted President Trump and me to go out and stop them, prevent them from having that.
And I'm just trying to get at how long is it going to take to achieve that aim?
I'm not going to give a timetable to it, but I'm going to say that's a terrifically important mission because you don't want Iran to have ballistic missiles to reach any city in the United States with nuclear warheads because no American would be safe. And I think President Trump understood that from the start. I know that he understood that from years of discussion with this. I came to the United States in 2016, right before the election. Because I made it a habit to meet with the candidates of both parties, either in America or here. So I go to 2016, it's right before the elections, and I meet with Hillary Clinton.
Sus.
And then I meet with Donald Trump in New York. The first thing he says.
It is really funny that for years and years, liberals were like, oh, Russia is responsible for ruining the American elections, Russiagate, when there is like direct evidence of Israeli intervention in every American election. And I mean, it's beyond AIPAC, obviously. Even during the Russiagate scandal, they uncovered a bunch of like foreign espionage facilities and people trying to like change the outcome of certain elections. And they found Israel underneath some of those rocks over and over again. But liberals, if you were to ask them, still think like, oh no, it's Russia. When in fact, there's been Israel all along.
To me, in Trump Tower, is we can't let Iran have nuclear weapons. I'm going to walk out of that terrible Iran deal. Jump forward 8 years later, there's another election. I meet President Biden and Kamala Harris in Washington. And then I go and meet Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. And the first thing he says to me, even before I sit down, he says, you know, Bibi, we cannot let Iran have nuclear weapons. I'm not going to let it happen. So he's infused with this mission.
What do you think changed from the first term to the second term? Because it was a phrase he spoke to you in 2016. It's action he took with your government now.
Well, I think in the first term, he believed, as did I, that we could enforce sanctions, a sanctions regime, which he did, and basically bring Iran to...
its knees, which is a phrase he used.
Yeah, well, they stopped exporting oil, you know, it just reduced it completely. He hoped that that would work, and it did for a while, but it didn't really stop them. I would say it slowed them down, but it didn't stop them.
I wonder why these guys say death to America, death to Israel, by the way. I wonder why the Iranians would ever say death to America or death to Israel. Very strange. I guess it's just they hate us because they ain't us, right? That's what it is, right? Or they hate our freedoms. It must be that. Or they're just anti-Semitically hating on Israel. That's what it is. I can't believe it, dude. This is on U.S. television, just flexing. He's like, yep, I dominate your politics. Both of your parties are servile to my needs. I go and visit presidents. I go and visit candidates. They all tell me how much they want to destroy Iran. And if you're confused as to why there's so much bandwidth on this Iran issue, just know that I'm doing it. It's my doing. And there's nothing you can say or do about it. What are you going to do about it, bitch? You don't have a real democratic process. He looked so bad recently. Bro, he had ass cancer. Which he, I think, is recovering from.
Back to enrichment. They went back to their full efforts on nuclear, to develop a nuclear weapon. And what changes that they were very close to achieving it. That's what prompted the action. And it amazes me, frankly. You know, when we talk about it, people ask, What is the purpose of this war? What's the point? The point is not to let a regime committed to the destruction of the United States and Israel. They call us the little Satan. They call you the big Satan. What do you do with the big Satan? You have to remove it from the world. That's their doctrine. Not to let such a regime.
It's not real, dude. It's so funny that you guys thought this is real. It's obviously not real. Netanyahu says Israel lost a public relations war because of foreign government sending fake text messages. Americans pretending to be red-blooded Texans. This is quite literally one of Israel's own influence tactics, as I reported in February. Yeah. Since November, America's been receiving texts from Friends for Peace and Partners in Peace. Only these peace orgs do not appear to exist. Some people see this as a political or border dispute, while others view it as Israel defending civilians from Hamas. How do you see it? Just joined it, you're playing AI. I thought you didn't like AI. Good one.
Nuclear weapons, because it's very different. If, I don't know, let me pick a country. If Holland has nuclear weapons, it's not the same as the Ayatollah
What is this?
regime.
SCOTUS is twerking on the Dems. Breaking news. U.S. Supreme Court vacates Alabama District Court order requiring the state to draw a congressional map with 2 majority black voting districts in a 6-3 decision. Alabama can now draw a more Republican-friendly map. Incredible. They're literally openly farting on democracy. They're farting on democracy. They just straight up don't give up, dude. Your voice does not matter. There is no democracy. There's no democratic process. What are you going to do about it, bitch? Nothing, okay? Nothing. It's over. It's done. Donald Trump knows he's unpopular. The last remaining way to show how unpopular Donald Trump is voting. That's just the reality. I know that there are, other methods outside of this, but I'm just talking about like what the current situation looks like, okay? And he knows that he will get voted out. His party will get voted out of power, and the incoming party, the incoming makeup of Congress will end up punishing him. They'll start setting up committee investigations. They won't have to do like bipartisan compromise over and over again. They can get bills out there, messaging bills attacking Trump, basically destroying whatever funding vehicle he could push for. That's what they're going to do. And Trump knows that, and he doesn't want that. So he is trying to cheat. Okay? He is trying to cheat. That's all he's doing.
That calls for your destruction, having nuclear weapons. So that's what prompted these military operations.
Mr. Prime Minister, what is your evaluation of the state of the Iranian regime today? Is it just as well composed, well organized, and fanatical as you just described?
I think it's at the weakest point it's been since it hijacked the Iranian people and took
Since
over.
1979?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the weakest it's been. The hardliners are just as hardline as they were before, but there are fissures in the regime. I mean, there are cracks in it because they've been hit very hard by our joint efforts, our joint military efforts. We destroyed a lot of their money machine, their petrochemical plants, their steel plants in which they produce the raw material for these rockets and ballistic missiles and other things. We hit them very hard, and so it causes now a debate within this with this regime. Some say, let's keep on trucking, and others are saying, if we do, our economy.
This is one of the worst instances of propaganda I've ever seen. This is literally like Nuremberg trial, I think. In a just world, it wouldn't just be Benjamin Netanyahu going to jail. 60 Minutes will be in prison too.
Will collapse and the people will rise. That's the real fear. The people will rise because they're really afraid of the Iranian people. So they are, there's a debate. They're weak. They're certainly weaker than they were before, but it's not over and the jury is still out. I'm the first one to say it.
What do you believe is the physical condition and operational influence of the current supreme leader?
Yeah, if you ask me what his condition is, first of all, if you ask me if he's alive, I think he is alive. What is
That's not what you were saying. That's not what you were saying before. What happened? Why would anyone prop up this criminal? Chatter, I'm going to repeat this one more time. Probably not for the last time, but sometimes when the real president speaks, you have to listen, okay? The problem is when the real president speaks, you should ask him real questions. This is basically the Nelk boys.
Condition is, it's hard to say. He's holed up in some bunker or in some secret place, and I think he's trying to exert his authority. I don't think he has the same authority that his father, the Ayatollah Khamenei, had. I don't think so. That's also creating the disruptions in that regime, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think the real question is not so much what they do; it's what we do. Do we keep them in check? Do we keep up the pressure? And I think the answer is we should, and we are. And President Trump has been leading this effort, I think, quite in quite unexpected ways. The blockade on them, when they were blockading the Gulf, is actually turned the tables on them. But, it's an ongoing thing.
With the fractures and fissures you described, do you have a genuine sense of who can negotiate a deal that is durable on the Iranian side?
I have my opinions.
Please share them.
I share them with the president.
Okay. Any guidance on what those opinions are?
I have opinions on my opinions too, but I'm not going to share them here either.
Understood. Understood. What about the second front of this conflict, which is Lebanon, but not Lebanon, it's Hezbollah? Is that near an end? Is that a war that is nearing an end? And has Israel achieved its strategic and tactical goals against Hezbollah?
Hezbollah had 150,000 ballistic missiles and rockets before the war. 150,000. That's the densest concentration of these projectiles on the planet. And they were all aimed to destroy our cities, not only to harass the north of the country with rockets, but to destroy our cities, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Haifa, you name it, with ballistic missiles that come raining down. Each one has half a ton or a ton of explosives, and they come down. It's like a bus coming down with amazing speed, and the destruction is terrible. We destroyed the bulk of that. We destroyed about more than 90% of that. But that still leaves them with thousands of rockets and some ballistic missiles. And that's still a big issue. They still hold Lebanon hostage.
Typically, they push for answer for interviewees, dodge, but he's hardly trying. Bro, he's not even asking. Okay, there's a difference between asking questions where you are unsure whether or not he's going to tell you the truth. And obviously, if you're a journalist, every politician is like lying to you, right? So you should always have a healthy dose of skepticism and be as critical as possible. But here, the 60 Minutes is not asking him questions so he can, give some kind of shaky answer, and then 60 Minutes tries to arrive at the truth. It's pure propaganda. This is no different than Benjamin Netanyahu basically doing a 60-minute talk to Americans directly on CBS. Obviously, that would be a little bit boring, so you got to cut it back and forth between a guy who's seemingly asking questions. Because if you notice, there's not a single setup question here. So far, it's been 11 minutes. And there has not been a single setup question where you're like, what did you do here? Why did you do this? No follow-ups whatsoever. You just let him lie over and over again, and then you just move on.
Hezbollah is basically a proxy of Iran. Iran holds Lebanon. We have no quarrel with Lebanon. We can make peace with Lebanon and want to make peace with them tomorrow, no yesterday. But you have this foreign body, this Iranian-backed terrorist organization that hijacked the country.
And the Lebanese government has a history of being incapacitated or unable.
Right.
Are you guys in the chat unironically looking at options on how much it would cost to get me a smart screen? Amongst yourselves, as the real leader of the free world, the real leader of the United States of America is getting a suck job from 60 Minutes, CBS News. You guys are talking amongst yourselves about how much it would cost. You're issuing contracts in the chat. What's happening? I already told them if you're serious, then your team will figure it out. That was 20 minutes ago. Yeah, I'll buy it on my own, guys. Calm down. This meeting is need to know. Management will inform you when needed. Okay, thanks. I love chatters that are just they're engaging in backseat production, and now it seems backseat stage purchases.
So when you're negotiating with the Lebanese government, many people are confused. How does that solve the Hezbollah problem?
Well, it doesn't, not yet. So we've had to go into Lebanon to prevent a repeat of the invasion we had in Gaza. On October 7th, Hamas invaded us, butchered our men, beheaded our men, raped our women, and then killed them, burnt our babies, did the worst massacre against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And guess what? On the other border, Hezbollah from Lebanon was planning to do even more. They had 5,000 Redwan Force terrorists ready to invade the Galilee. So we pushed them back. We've got a security belt now that prevents them from doing that or shooting anti-tank missiles into our kitchens, into our living rooms. But it's not over yet. We still have missiles. We have drones, killer drones. We have to deal with it. Now, let me tell you, the Lebanese would like us to do that. Many.
Eradicate Hezbollah.
Oh, yeah. Because they want freedom. Who would want a country to be taken over by these killers, these murderers? Of course they want to be free, but they've not shown yet the capacity to fight them. What we're talking to them about is how do we work together to militarily and politically, possibly splitting up the work, to get rid of Hezbollah. It's not yet been done. It has to be done as well.
Is it possible, Mr. Prime Minister, that the war with Iran could end, but the war with Hezbollah could continue? That these would be separate and divergent battlefields?
They should be. But what Iran would like to do is to say, no, if we achieve a ceasefire here, we want a ceasefire
They do,
there.
clearly.
You know why? Because they want Hezbollah to stay there and continue to torture Lebanon, continue to hold its people hostage, and continue
Will you accept that?
No.
Oh my God. Thank you, Israel. It's so nice of you to save the Lebanese people. Right after you got so tied up and so tired saving originally the Palestinian people, right? First, you saved the Palestinian people. Now you're saving the Lebanese people. It's so wonderful. What a good guy you are, man.
Even if President Trump asks you to.
Well, look, he understands what I'm saying. I mean, we want
Oh my God, first time. First question. First question is, first time he asks a question that's like kind of interesting. Oh, what if Trump stops you?
to get rid of that danger to our communities, to our cities. They rocket our cities all the time. They rocket our communities. And of course, would you want to live like that? I mean, would you like to live, where do you live, Major?
I live in Washington, D.C. Mr.
Yeah,
President.
so, okay, so in Bethesda, you've got...
I live right downtown.
Okay, you've got in Bethesda.
Don't tell him where you live, dumbass. He's going to send a drone strike.
Right near the White House.
That's about the distance. In Bethesda.
In my conversation.
Just kidding, by the way. He knows where you live, and he's never going to drone strike you because you're sucking his dick from the back.
You would have a terrorist organization that claims they want to destroy the United States.
Actual CBS question, Netanyahu, Israeli intelligence within Iran allowed you to pinpoint the location of the... Oh, yeah, I saw this. It was so stupid. I hated this glaze from mainstream media, too, at the time. It was so unbearable. Like, they've killed an 87-year-old man in his home, dude. You don't need tremendous real-time intelligence to figure out that an 87-year-old guy was in his home when you killed him in his home. Like, wow, how miraculous. And also, in the most Israeli fashion, they killed his whole family too, obviously. Maybe that's why. Maybe they were like, oh, he's elderly. He's surrounded by women and children. It's time to murder him. Israel can't kill someone. Israel can't do high-profile assassinations unless they're around women, children, unless they are elderly themselves. The Israeli special.
States and destroy Washington, and they have the missiles and the drones to do that right across your border, your municipal line. Would you accept that? Of course not. You wouldn't do that.
So this could go on.
Yeah, but
even if Iran is solved.
I hope. No, if this regime is indeed weakened or possibly toppled, I think it's the end of Hezbollah. It's the end of Hamas. It's probably the end of the Houthis, because the whole scaffolding of the terrorist proxy network that Iran built collapses if the regime in Iran collapses. Now, that's not guaranteed. But the weakening of that regime weakens the proxies as well. Still a long haul. It's not something that's going to be...
Look at how excited he is at the prospect of not having any contest whatsoever in the region as he just continuously expands Israel's borders, That's what this is. That's what this is about. Oh, you won't allow us to rape Lebanon, okay? Hezbollah stops us from raping and pillaging inside of Lebanon like Israel did in Gaza, like Israel is currently doing in the West Bank. Okay? The Houthis can create some semblance of military deterrence if we choose to do insane shit to the Palestinians, as they have done so over and over again. They are capable of implementing an economic blockade on the Red Sea. Iran also has the power to strike Israel directly. Of course, there is going to be resistance, dude. You're a genocide rape colony at this point to all of your neighbors. Why wouldn't they fight back militarily? Of course they're going to fight back militarily. You're a goddamn Nazi. You're Adolf Hitler reincarnate. You have the haircut. I feel like it's a flex, by the way. I genuinely think he's doing the Hitler haircut to be like, see, can't do anything about it.
Tomorrow.
Do you believe it is possible to topple the Iranian regime?
I think that you can't predict when that happened. Is it possible? Yes. Is it guaranteed? No. But I can tell you, it's like bankruptcy, It proceeds, proceeds gradually, and then it falls,
right.
Like that. You couldn't predict the fall of the Soviet Union. You couldn't predict the fall of the Ceausescu dictatorship in Romania.
Very few people predicted the fall of Syria.
Correct. And it happens. Now, is it what precedes it? There has to be a weakening of the...
Yeah, go ahead, make my day. I'm not predicting the fall of Israel, the Israeli regime. But who knows?
The regime has been weakened, but it's not guaranteed.
There are few places on earth where the Israeli intelligence operatives know more about than the internal dynamics of Iran. What are they telling you?
Just what I told you. They've been weakened. They have internal fights. They're worried. But I can't tell you. I can tell you one thing. When did the uprisings? When did the revolt in the street happen in Iran? It happened after our first operation, after Rising Lion, after Midnight Hammer. The two names that we have for that. And then, they came out to the streets because their economic conditions were getting worse, but also because they saw that Iran is not this overwhelming, neighborhood bully that nobody could resist. We resisted them. We fought them. Our planes controlled the skies over Tehran, which was unthinkable before that.
We are really going to call a side part to Hitler cut ridiculous? I like that you went from, where would you put the whiteboard? Like, you're really, really worried about the whiteboard, and now you're talking about, no, it does look like, come on, man. You don't think this looks like Adolf Hitler's hair? Look at him. He looks like he just took the fake mustache off after impersonating Adolf Hitler. After a long day of impersonating Adolf Hitler, he took the mustache off just to do this interview. Like, look, not on some whiteboard, but here. Okay, here, I'll show you. Okay, here. Okay, let's just start here first. Okay, here's a photo of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, let's take a look. It's already dark right there, so you don't even need to do too much. Okay, you don't even need to do too much. Okay, look. Now, let's look at Adolf Hitler. I'm trying to find like one where he's looking. Hold on. Open image, a new tab. What do you think this is? He literally looks like he was impersonating Adolf earlier. And he took the mustache off. Chatters might actually be confused right now. They're probably asking in the chat, why are you showing two pictures of Adolf Hitler? It's the same photo. Let me fill this in completely so you get a better understanding. Hi, Fox News. Say hi to Fox News. This will definitely be on it tomorrow. Really? They're trying to promote me even further. This photo will come in handy again later in this interview. No spoilers, but he says them in the interview. I mean, look, without the mustache, you can't really tell, right?
And then they went out to the streets. They were mauled, they were massacred, they were wounded, maimed by the tens of thousands.
That memory has to linger.
The memory lingers, and I think something else. I think they also, the legitimacy is gone because they understand that it's just brute force that is keeping them. So would that rise up again? Could that happen again? My view is it probably could, but you can't guarantee it. And contrary to what people said, I didn't go to the White House and said to Donald Trump, it's guaranteed, it can be done. I said, I didn't really have to tell him. He knew that we were approaching a situation where Iran could produce a nuclear weapon. He knew that we were approaching a situation where Iran's ballistic missile capability after Rising Lion was going to be reconstructed, and Khamenei wanted to put it underground, the factories underground, not the missiles, the factories underground, to produce more and more and more ballistic missiles, and to do the same with his nuclear industry. Put them underground, under a heavy mountain where even B-2s couldn't reach it. So he knew that we have to take action, and he did.
I'm going to get to that point you just made in a second. If someone were to ask you, as I'm going to, Mr. Prime Minister, the capabilities of Israeli intelligence within Iran allowed you to pinpoint the location of Supreme Leader and others. That is a kind of granular intelligence that is borderline miraculous in the modern world. Why wasn't it sufficient to also foment a revolution?
I think it could be a necessary condition, but I'm not sure that it's a sufficient condition. But you're quite right about our granular capability for surgical attacks.
Why can't they also set in motion a revolution that could topple the regime operatives?
Because you need many things. You not only need, to attack the leadership, there's still a lot of people there.
Why can't your Israeli operatives set events in motion to topple the regime? Bro, this is the kind of that people of my ideological tendency would have to dig through archives and declassified information 60 years after the fact to arrive at, okay? Now is just on 60 Minutes before it happens. And it has happened, and they did admit to it as well. I'm telling you, like back in the day, commies, lefties, people who are called tankies, campists, would say, oh, American aligned regime is trying to foment or instigate some kind of counter-revolution, instigate some kind of color revolution, right? And everyone would say, oh, you're so stupid. You're so wrong. The people are just desperate to be liberated. That's what it used to, because this was quiet, okay? This was done quiet. Nowadays, they're just like, why haven't you done more of this? We know you've done it already, but why haven't you done more of it? Don't you think you could be successful if you try again?
One out of 100 Iranians is in the secret police, and they're, as they showed, they're quite ready to just butcher their people. So it's not that simple, because it's terror. It's basically the application of terror. This is the preeminent terrorist regime in the world, okay? They send terrorism to every country, but first to their own.
Dude, you can't say that with a straight face. You're literally Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Israel. There is no country that is the preeminent state more so than the nation state of Israel, well, America and Israel. You just called Iran the preeminent terror state after you answered a question about instigating more instability inside of Iran with your operatives that are also inside of the boundaries of Iran.
People. So they terrorize them. But we have been accused of indiscriminate attacks. We're the most discriminating military on the planet in history. You remember the beepers? We knocked out. We didn't.
He said Iran is the #1 state sponsor of terror, and then immediately then followed up with, remember the terror attack that I did? It was awesome.
Killed 2,500 people, but we impaired them, knocked them out with surgical precision, no collateral damage with the beepers, you know. And that's what we proceeded to do against their key scientists, against their key commanders, against their leaders. But it's a component. It doesn't guarantee. It doesn't guarantee the success of a.
They killed a child, okay, and they significantly maimed multiple children. They killed healthcare professionals. They exploded those beepers in fucking marketplaces. Then they did another round of explosive beepers at the fucking funeral. The idea that this is like there was no collateral damage is disgusting because he doesn't see Arabs as human. Okay? That's it. Yeah. Fatima Abdullah, 9, killed in Israel's pager attack, buried in Lebanon. I'm telling you, it's because he doesn't think these are human. He doesn't think Arabs are human. He doesn't think the Lebanese people are human. That's it. That's the only reason why he gets to say it. And the other guy doesn't question it because he also doesn't think that they're human. He also does not think Muslims, Christians, as long as they're Arab, are human beings. That's it. There's no other way to understand what he's saying here.
Fault, but it could help it happen.
So you referred to this a minute ago. I want to put the question directly to you because the New York Times on April 7th reported the following about a fateful meeting, February 11th, in the White House. And the New York Times reports as follows, quote, in the Situation Room on February 11th.
Yeah, keep saying it's the New York Times. It's not me, Mr. President. The American president, Mr. President, the real president of America. It's not me. I'm so sorry that I even have to read this. Her name is Maggie Haberman, by the way. Her apartment is apartment 18A in 1617 Margaret Road. If you would like to do something about this treacherous, perfidious snake who wrote this disgusting article, but I'm so sorry, but I'm going to ask you about this article real quick. Yeah, but you can kill her if you want to, Mr. President. Not me, though.
Mr. Netanyahu made a hard sell, suggesting that Iran was ripe for regime change and expressing the belief that a joint U.S.-Israeli mission could finally bring an end to the Islamic Republic. Is that correct?
No, that's actually incorrect.
In what ways is it incorrect?
It's incorrect in the sense that I said, oh, well, it's guaranteed, we can do it, and so on. I didn't say that. We both understood that we have little time to act because otherwise they'll get nuclear weapons. We both understood that we have little time to act because otherwise they'll bury underground.
Yeah, no. Maggie Haberman is a lying snake, Mr. President, true president of America. Thank you for clarifying. We were really worried.
Their ballistic missile capabilities. But while we were, we said that
By the way, it's insane that he's now denying this. Of course he said it. He said it leading up to the incident. He said it leading up to the events on television, and he said it literally while it was happening. He kept saying it for the next week after it happened, okay? Here is the moment where the 60 Minutes reporter is supposed to go, so why did you say this on day 1? Why did you say this on day 2? Why did you say this exact same sentiment that Maggie Haberman, that snake? Why did you say this thing that seems exactly like what you said behind closed doors, in broad daylight, in public, for approximately 2 weeks until everybody started recognizing that neither America nor Israel were able to achieve any of their military objectives?
part of the action would be the removal of the leadership and other measures. There was uncertainty. And we said it. All of this, is uncertain. If you ever, engage in military
in the confines of that conversation,
you
noted the uncertainty.
Not only did I note it, we both agreed, that there was both uncertainty and risk involved. And I remember that
he's offering complimentary pushback. It's not pushback at all. It's just him being like, well, you're so right.
I said there was
into that conversation,
is uncertain. If you ever, engage in military
in the confines of that conversation, you noted the uncertainty.
Not only that.
Buddy, you're not chopping it up with your high school friend, okay, that you haven't seen in 2 decades. What is this? DJ Mule, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream. You don't get to do the solid snake method of conversation. You don't get to just take one part of what he said and then say that part, like repeat that part as though you guys are having a conversation together, a chummy one, 2 friends. You're supposed to be a journalist. You're a journalist. He literally, he just goes, yeah, so there was uncertainty in the room. So there's uncertainty in the room. Uncertainty in the room?
Noted, we both agreed, that there was both uncertainty and risk involved. And I remember that
so you're saying there's risk involved.
He said that there's danger in action, in taking action, but there's greater danger in not taking action.
This yes-anding Adolf Hitler reincarnate, by the way.
So there was no certainty there. There was no guarantee. It wasn't pie in the
There was no guarantee?
the way people describe it. It was, I think, a very truthful presentation of the possibilities and the risks.
Picking up on that point that you just made and continuing what the New York Times reported, quote, Mr. Netanyahu and his team outlined conditions they portrayed as pointing to certain victory.
I need to explain something to you. What he's doing here is just, it might, to the untrained eye, come across like he's actually, holding Benjamin Netanyahu's feet to the fire. If you're an absolute dumbass, he's not. Or if you're like, I don't know, the most pro-Israel person on the planet, and you think any questioning of Benjamin Netanyahu is obviously anti-Semitic. But what he's doing is allowing Benjamin Netanyahu to walk back the reporting of the New York Times. Okay? And he's right there along with him the entire way, and he's letting him do it, and he's yes-anding him through the process.
Adding, the regime would be so weakened that it could not choke off the Strait of Hormuz, and the likelihood that Iran would land blows against U.S. interests in the neighboring countries was assessed as minimal. Is that factually incorrect?
I don't think we could quantify it exactly, but I think that the problem of the Hormuz Straits was understood as the fighting went on.
It became understood.
It became understood.
Was it misread at the beginning?
I'm not sure it was misread, but there's a great risk for Iran to do it. It took a while for them to understand how big that risk is, which they understand now.
Because of the blockade?
Because of the blockade, and that's actually a brilliant move by the president. I think it's very smart. I don't think they calculated, I think they didn't calculate the response that this would have. Yes, they could cause a global dislocation of markets, trying to take over an international maritime route. They could do that, but they should have understood that that would eventually cause a reaction that was very powerful, and that is now collapsing their economy. So did people understand, did we understand that, yeah, they could do it, but then they wouldn't do it because they understood what would happen if they did do it? I don't claim perfect foresight, and nobody had perfect foresight. Neither did the Iranians. They should have figured out that that's what's coming.
Did you say that most of these risks would be minimal?
I don't remember using that language.
Would that be a fair interpretation?
No, I would say that the overall conception was that this would elicit a response that they probably would not shoulder, but they did shoulder, and now they're attacking. They're being attacked accordingly.
In those moments, was the precipitating factor the intelligence that was gathered and then by the Israelis and confirmed by the U.S. about the location of the supreme leader and the opportunity that presented, or was it the imminent threat? Which was more important?
It starts with the threat. Again, you have to understand this. The president talked to me. The two meetings that I described to you were among many, but he said we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon because that's enormously dangerous to the United States. And the president first thinks about America, and then he thinks also about the world. You can't let it happen. So we knew it was going to happen. It would have happened already if we hadn't done it. So that was the first thing. Everything else flows from that. That's exactly how it happened.
There's a quote that's frequently misattributed to Winston Churchill. History is written by the victors. He didn't say it. Lots of people said it. He didn't say it.
No, he said, I don't worry about it because I'll write it myself.
But that idea that victors write the history, what will the state of Israel will write about this conflict with Iran? And when will you know it's been victorious?
I think we already achieved great things. Remember, Iran was surrounding us with a noose of death, of simultaneous invasions from Gaza, from Hamas, and from Lebanon by Hezbollah. We were going to be rocketed and pelleted with ballistic missiles that would destroy our cities. Iran would have atomic weapons to destroy us. We smashed the terror axis. It's not finished. We have still work to do. But it's clear that Israel has emerged as the most powerful country in the Middle East. We have a partnership with the U.S. that is second to none. The National Security Memorandum that was issued a few months ago described Israel as the model ally, not the ally.
I mean, this level of flexing, it's too much. It's too much.
The model ally of the United States. So we've changed our position from being on the verge of being exterminated, being annihilated, to a position where we knock back the annihilators and become a very forceful element, a very forceful country in the Middle East. Now, all power is relative. You know that. All power is relative.
Yes.
So Iran hasn't disappeared.
Hezbollah
hasn't disappeared. Hamas hasn't disappeared. But they're, in many ways, in some cases, a shadow of their...
I guess we're finishing each other's sentences, Mr. President. They're literally echoing one another. I can't believe how insane this is. Did you guys just not hear this? Like, look, they're literally Hamas, Hezbollah. Like, what are you guys singing? This is a barbershop quartet? What the f is going on?
Hasn't disappeared. Hamas hasn't disappeared. But they're...
Oh my God. Did you guys write the lines together? What the f is this? Did you have a sleepover before this? You were both laying in bed together, side by side, making prank phone calls to your crushes, ordering pizza, watching Devil Wears Prada 2? Is that what was going on when you guys were writing? the script together? Bare feet, no socks on, feet touching each other, maybe toes clasped together? What is going on?
In many ways, in some cases, a shadow of their former selves. They certainly don't threaten us now with annihilation. They try to kill our people. They occasionally succeed. But there's no question that the relative power of Israel has changed. That's been our situation. When we started out, we were 600,000 people on the beach here, and we were attacked by 7 Arab armies, and we survived by the skin of our teeth. And as we got stronger, we made peace with the Arab states. I myself, along with President Trump, we made the Abraham Accords, peace with 4 Arab countries. I now see the possibility of the expansion of those agreements and the expansion and the deepening of the agreements we do have to alliances with Arab states of the kind that we'd never even dreamed of. That's the result of the change in the relative power of Israel, the fact that we faced down this neighborhood bully, this killer regime in Iran. That's brought quite a few of the Arab countries closer together with Israel, and that's good for peace.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Mr. Prime Minister, because I just read a Wall Street Journal story that said there is concern among the Gulf states right now that if the Iranian regime hangs on and there is a peace deal that deals with nuclear and ballistic, but does not deal with shorter range conventional missiles, and the allied militias, an angry Iran will present a greater danger to these Gulf states than it did before this conflict began. Point one. Point two, also it said that there is concern rising among the Gulf monarchies that it will not allow and does not want Israel to exercise strategic dominance over the Middle East. So has any of this been jeopardized?
I'm hearing different things. I'm hearing the fact from Arab countries, which I won't get into, who say...
All of them?
No, but some of them, and I never heard that before, let's strengthen our alliance with Israel, because that, in fact, deters Iran. Let's strengthen our alliance with Israel because we can work up our defenses as a result of it. Let's strengthen our alliance with Israel because we can do amazing things with Israel.
That was clearly the trajectory before this conflict.
It's more than you think now in ways that I guess will become public. I can't give everything to 60 Minutes or to you in one shot, but I'm telling you that the degree of economic cooperation on energy, on AI, on quantum, the areas where Israel is so strong, that's how we're so strong. I mean, we're a tiny country, right? But we're a gigantic country. We may have 10 million people in a tiny territory, but gigantic talent. And they see the possibility now of sharing the fruits of these capabilities with them. And that's happening right now. So yes, of course, there'll still be a challenge from Iran, but the partnership with Israel, in fact, helps deter that and help them defend themselves and protect their future.
When you talked to my colleague, Tony DeCopel, in October 2025, you said something that really has been ringing in my ear. It was near the end of the interview. You said the most important thing in destroying fanaticism is to destroy a certain hope.
Just distasteful.
When Israel is too strong, that prepares the ground for a change of heart. Has that happened?
It's already happened with the Arab world. After successive wars, and they saw that Israel is not destroyed, and Israel is there.
But I mean in this current context, with
Iran
Hezbollah,
itself,
with Iran,
I think the
Hamas.
fanaticism, you're dealing here with fanatic regimes. They're fanatics. So that's why they're willing to do horrible things to their own people. Murder their citizens in Iran, murder their citizens in Lebanon, murder their citizens just execute them on the spot in Hamas in Gaza. They're not easily persuadable. So you may need more staying power, more resolve to roll them back and finally to defeat them. It's not something that happens overnight. But do democracies have the staying power? Do they have the resolve to stop these fanatics? Well, you think, well, it's none of our business. It is your business. Because if Iran were to develop nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to every American city, it's just a question of time. They've just developed a missile to reach Diego Garcia. That's 2,400 miles. To reach the United States, it's a little over 6,000 miles. So if you don't take this action, if we hadn't taken this action, if we don't continue the pressure, then one day you'll be faced with such a regime. And then the question is, will you be able to deter them? Well, it's not obvious. Look at what they're doing now without nuclear weapons. They're attacking everybody in sight. They're jamming up this international waterway and causing a crisis in the world economy. And they're butchering their own citizens. You think they'll be, they'll spare you, they'll be nice to you?
We still have that.
We still have that.
This is your philosophy. This is your core philosophy.
Yes, I believe that free societies have to be strong against
and that you can force a change of heart within fanatical entities in the region.
It's already happened. It's happened in some places also in the Gulf, but it is, it's not guaranteed. History doesn't guarantee the victory of free civilization. It has to be purchased. Freedom is precious. Survival is precious. It's not guaranteed by hope alone.
Understood.
It is guaranteed by the force of will, and if necessary, the force of arms. Now, this is not a popular belief these days, because in the digital age we live, where people just scroll and scroll and scroll, the sense of history becomes dim. You're lucky in some cases if it goes back to breakfast.
Transient.
Yeah,
ephemeral.
Very ephemeral, and people don't always understand what I think is important, that our free civilization is both precious but also vulnerable. And if societies don't have the will to defend themselves, they'll be overtaken by the barbarians. I read this by and my favorite author, one of my favorite authors, Will Durant, a great American historian, wrote, the history of civilization, and basically wrote a compendium at the end, a 100-page book, Lessons of History. I gather you read it.
I have indeed.
He says it. He basically says this. Nothing's guaranteed. Good doesn't triumph over evil. It's not guaranteed unless good is willing to fight. And what is happening in some parts of Western society, it looks like it's taken over a lot of Western Europe and some parts of the United States. Fighting the bad people is bad, because fighting is bad. War is horrible. I've been in it. I myself experienced it. I lost a fellow soldier, died in my arms when he was 18. My brother died rescuing hostages. I myself was wounded in a hostage release.
Wait, what? He was not a part of that operation, for the record. Just so you know. I maybe he's talking about a different operation, but the operation that his brother died in, he was not a part of, because they in Israel they won't let two brothers partake in the same military operation in order to have someone continue the lineage if necessary. Like if one dies, then the other can continue the family's lineage. Pretty sure he was not a part of the operation. I'm a numbers guy. Let's grok it. Let's ChatGPT it. Let's grok it. The brother was in South America, but not Netanyahu. No, it was in Africa, not South America. And it was the airport. It was Operation Entebbe. It was the airport capture. Like it was. I'm a numbers guy. Let's just grok it. Let's grok it. And he's not allowed. Benjamin Netanyahu was not allowed to be on the operation because his brother Jonathan was a part of it. Yeah, maybe he was in the IDF Seaman Brigade. Potentially, I don't know. He might have been on the IDF has a Seaman squad. Pull that up. Vinny. Pull that up. ChatGPT at grok it. Might have been Benjamin Netanyahu. Might have been a part of the Goon platoon. Part of the Goon platoon. If our government was at all serious, Barry Weiss would be forced to register a foreign agent. Is even more softball than you can imagine. No mention of Netanyahu's IC warrant. No mention of 200+ thousand dead children, 20 plus thousand dead children, no mention of 200 plus journalists killed, 60 Minutes props up conspiracy theory, outrage over Gaza is driven by foreign bots, no mention of Palestinians at all. Kier resigned? Wait, he did already? Ain't no way. Did he? Are you with me? I thought it was going to be tomorrow. Are you guys, are you serious? Chatter is lying, banned them. Chat got baited. Oh God, you're so annoying. Why would he resign? It's not. It's midnight time, Oibrov style. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to resign tomorrow. Cabinet split as Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood among ministers calling for Starmer to set out timetable for resignation. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is among cabinet ministers calling for Starmer to set out a timetable for his resignation. It's understood that there are splits in the cabinet over calls for Starmer's departure, and Mahmood is in the minority. Tuesday promises to be an extraordinary day, but today has been one as well. It comes after 6 Labour MPs were replaced as they were called for Starmer to resign or set out a timetable for his resignation. Earlier, he insisted he would prove doubters wrong, adding his government has made mistakes but got the big political choices right. Labour backbench MP Catherine West backed down from a threat to trigger a leadership challenge against Starmer, but called on him to go by September. Pressure has been mounting on Starmer over his party's disastrous performance in the elections across England, Scotland, and Wales last week. Sir Keir Starmer resisting calls from senior cabinet ministers to stand down. He's just announced 6 new PPS appointments to replace those who quit after calling him to go. Loyal ministers say he stands by his position from this morning. He will not walk away. This is going to get very, very messy indeed. Do you guys feel good that I did the accent for you too? How do we save her? Eileen Wong, the mayor of Arcadia, California, has been charged with acting as an illegal foreign agent for China, the Justice Department announced on Monday. Wong agreed to plead guilty, the Justice Department said. Free her. You're finished. You can't do the British accent anymore. Wait, really? Was it bad? I guess I can't tell. Because in my mind, I thought it was decent. I thought it was decent. No, it wasn't. It was awesome. No, it's horrible. It was pretty good. Wow, chat is conflicted on this. Jesus Christ. not bad. It's insufferable. Well, guess what? That's supposed to be the point. Spot on. Spot on, chap. You actually sounded like a British news fella. I liked it. Anybody that says fella, which is one step removed from feller, is probably not the best judge of what a British accent sounds like, what a convincing British accent it looks like. Jesus. I'm a numbers guy. Vinny, let's grok it. You can chat GPT it, you can grok it to see if I'm doing a good enough accent.
And I've seen the horrors of war. I've seen my parents grieve for their oldest son. I've seen other parents grieve. I know the cost of war and I know the pain of war. War is hell, exactly as described. And you do everything you can to prevent civilian casualties on the other side. Israel has gone to unbelievable lengths. But sometimes you have no choice. And if you get to the point where people say, no, under no circumstances will we fight, then you'll have to fight under the worst of circumstances.
You mentioned this a moment ago, but I want to probe it a little bit. This idea that a younger generation are on social media or scrolling, do you believe Israel is at risk of losing this war on that social media front? Meaning what is being portrayed, what is being said, and this is particularly, I believe, important in America for younger Americans, Republican and Democrat, who have hardened themselves against Israel, scrolling through images which tell them that there is something not as you describe, but uncivilized. And they would use words like barbaric in Gaza and in Lebanon.
Well, first,
are you losing that space?
Yeah, let me talk about that in a second. But first, let me say something that your audience probably doesn't know. That, as I said a minute ago, Israel has gone to unbelievable lengths to get innocent civilians out of harm's way. We text message millions of text messages to them, make millions of phone calls to them, pamphlets, leaflets, you name it, okay? And whereas Hamas and Hezbollah go out of their way to keep their own people in harm's way, they shoot them. In Gaza, they actually shoot civilians who wanted to leave the neighborhoods that we said to them, please vacate those neighborhoods. So obviously we end up with civilian casualties, but the proportion of civilian casualties, non-combatants to combatants, is one of the lowest in the history of modern urban warfare. So Israel is given a bum rap. One of the ways you can measure genocide is to see the ratio of combatants to non-combatants, and it's probably the lowest that's been in modern urban warfare because of the efforts that we make. Now, all of that is washed away because of what you said. Exactly what you said, Major. In other words, we have seen the deterioration of the support for Israel in the United States almost, I would say, it correlates almost 100% with the geometric rise of social media. And that by itself is not...
Yeah, what he's doing here is, once again, of course, deflecting away, never taking any responsibility, and also demanding more censorship on social media. Of course, all of the corporate leaders that are tuning into this kind of thing are getting the message. They've already been doing it. I mean, Ellison's have been doing it directly, right? They bought TikTok, they bought CBS News and 60 Minutes. This is part of the process of that purchase, part of the outcomes. You know, they're entertaining the purchase of CNN as well, obviously.
What caused it, and I don't believe in censoring them or anything, but I'll tell you what happened. We have several countries that basically manipulated social media with bot farms, with fake addresses, to break the American sympathy to Israel, to break the American-Israeli alliance because they think it's in their interests. And they do it in a clever way. You know, it's like you hear a text message. I'm a red-blooded Texan. I always supported Israel, but I can't stand what they're doing. I'm turning against Israel. And then you trace the address to some basement in Pakistan, you know. And that's something that has hurt us badly. While we were fighting the physical military battle on 7 battles.
Every single thing he's saying, Israel is doing. By the way, this is pretty cool. Vivid Prowess probably nutted, okay? Uttar Pradesh's very own Vivid Prowess probably is out there right now. He saw this part in the interview and he went, oh, that's me. He's talking about me. This is straight up a self-report. Like the idea that all of this stuff is not homegrown. It's just like Americans are getting duped by bots in the third world. Yes, this is true, except in favor of being pro-Israel and also in favor of being pro-white supremacy. That is a real thing that's happening. There's plenty of reporting on it too, by the way. So it's not like, yeah, he just replaced India with Pakistan. He didn't even go far enough. He just said, oh, they're doing it. They're doing it. Vivid posted. Wait. Oh my God. Oh my God. He did post it.
You said exactly what you said.
Uttar Pradesh's very own Vivid Prowess. Oh my God. I told you that nutted. He was like, that's me. He's talking about me. Yes, Uttar Pradesh mentioned, but at what cost? Wait, he pinned it? Oh my God. Oh my God. This is my best lock of today. Okay. He pinned it. Dude, he loves this. He's like, it's like I got noticed. I got noticed by my main guy. Okay. My number one benefactor. Yeah, it's because he said Pakistan. That's also, it's doubly awesome for him. Pakistan slander, check. Benjamin Netanyahu basically saying what he's doing. Isn't the bot farm issue overblown? I feel like most Americans wouldn't fall for political bots. Buddy, you're a political bot. No way the big Zuck is going to restrict social media though, right? What are you talking about? The big Zuck has already been zuckening Benjamin Netanyahu schmeat over and over again. Meta is one of the worst platforms for pro-Palestinian speech. He did it before Benjamin asked for it. He'd been doing it.
Seventh front war, we were completely exposed on the eighth front. The media war, really the social media war. And, you know, we've been busy. So we haven't seen that while they're attacking us with the equivalent of F-35s, we're trying to fight them with the Polish cavalry. It's like, it's almost what happened in World War II. So I think we have to engage on that front, not by censorship, but by finding ways that are applicable to democracies. We can't do what these authoritarian regimes do, but finding ways to fight the battle for the hearts and minds of young Americans on the social media. And that we have to do, absolutely. We have a problem, I recognize it, and we have to get our act together.
Do you in any way consider yourself responsible for that problem?
No, because I don't think that they're not only attacking Israel, they're attacking America. They're attacking America. They're trying to create ruptures within America, not only between America and Israel, between Americans and Americans. They're trying to say...
Foreign Operation Bot Farms.
Enormous.
Again, complimentary, yes-anding, foreign operation bot farms. Bro, he's doing, I'm realizing, ever since I saw that Metal Gear meme, like the Solid Snake style conversation, I can't stop seeing it. It's literally just him. It's just him doing it. He's doing the Solid Snake. Operation bot farms. Foreign bot farms. Have you guys not seen this meme? Can someone link me the meme? I also saw TikTok describing the meme. It's even better than that. Hold on. Maybe we can find it real quick. There's a TikTok. Let me see if I can find it.
But he does say, quote,
Israeli bot farms. So glad this is the topic. Oh no, we're not talking about Israeli bot farms. We're talking about foreign bot farms that are not Israeli bot farms. But the opposition is doing Israeli. The opposition is doing anti-Israeli bot farms. So here it is. This is the one I saw.
This simple conversation trick could change your life. As this person says, I am not kidding when I say that the Solid Snake conversation method saved my social life in college. So there's a style of conversation that you see in the Metal Gear Solid games, where one character is doing an exposition dump, but then when it's Solid Snake's turn to speak, he just repeats a phrase.
Their ace in the hole is useless now. Ace in the hole.
People joke about it because it's an example of bad writing. It's really just there to interrupt the long monologue from the other guy. But in real life, people love it. This person has an example of somebody saying, my day was good.
It was good?
Yeah, I got ice cream.
Ice cream.
Where all you are doing is
inviting
them to elaborate on the thing they had already chosen to talk about. Now, because this is an intentionally silly example, some of you are saying there's no way this would work in real life. But if you pay attention, you will see people doing this in real life all the time. Oh, my back is killing me. Your back? Yeah, I think I pulled it when I was wrestling with my dog. When you were wrestling with your dog? Yeah, my German Shepherd. She's named Sandy. Hold on, I think I've got a picture. You'll see therapists do this. I think I've heard it called reflection or active listening. But for them, it's part of a broader, refined technique for making the patient feel psychologically safe in that situation. Like, you're safe to keep talking to me, I am listening. You're not just talking to a wall. But what these people are saying is just the caveman version of this works wonders. Because if you are bad at talking to people, it's usually for a few reasons. For one, you may think that you yourself don't have anything interesting to say, or you're a very private person and don't want to share details from your own life. Then when talking to others, you may feel like you're not good at gauging their emotions or trying to read the room and figure out what do they want to talk about. Or you might assume that they hate conversation just as much as you do. You may avoid small talk because you yourself hate it when, for example, somebody at a party asks you, what do you do for a living?
Learning. This is why I spam emotes in chat. Thank you. Anyway, I know that now I mentioned Metal Gear. Everyone's going to be like, Metal Gear stream when?
And also getting to your universities, getting to your academic curricula, doing all sorts of things.
That is a true scenario. Do you believe that's the only explanation, or is it possible that some Americans have come to a different sense of Israel
Yes.
because of the last 2 or 3 years, organically and through their own
You can track
inquiry?
it. You can track it, actually. I think what they see is so many falsifications and vilifications that are unfounded. But they don't know because they just get it, they just get the last reel in the movie. They don't see the entire movie. But I'll tell you what happens. We saw that several years before the Gaza war, which definitely caused us a lot of damage because it was mispresented. But I'll tell you what, it was like the Gaza war was pouring kerosene on a fire that was already there. We could see that happening. We didn't understand it initially. We didn't see when it started going down. We didn't understand why is it going down? What's happening here? Before the Gaza war. But now we know a lot. We know a lot. And there's that eighth front. But it's not only our front, it's also your front. So many of Americans, young people, say they're not proud to be Americans. I think they should be proud. I mean, without America, we wouldn't have this generation of freedom. We wouldn't have the free societies that we have, the free civilization that we have. And, I think that
Yeah, I didn't realize I was on a front. I didn't realize I was waging war against Israel. I'm on the eighth front, and so were you, chatters. Turns out we were also armed and fighting against the state of Israel, which aren't looking too good for our chances. Okay,
this is a challenge that not only faces the American-Israeli relationship, it challenges the way America sees itself.
On that point, looking forward, Mr. Prime Minister, do you believe it's time for the state of Israel to re-examine and possibly reset its financial relationship to the United States, meaning what the United States provides to Israel on an annual basis?
Absolutely. And I've said this to President Trump. I've said it to our own people. Our jaws drop. But I said, look.
Al Jazeera is more critical of Qatar than the free press is of Israel. It's literally true. Oh my God. Longtime Israeli official thanking Barry Weiss for forcing Israeli propaganda onto every line of CBS News reports on the Middle East, even when they're interviewing Netanyahu. Larry, friends of the IDF Ellison, also deserves credit for buying CBS for this, but so does Barry. Just watched Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., just watched Netanyahu's interview on 60 Minutes and noted how CBS uncharacteristically stated that Hamas's casualty figures do not distinguish between combatants and civilians, and for the first time referred to Hezbollah terrorists and not Hezbollah militants. Thank you, Barry Weiss. More praise from Israeli firsters for CBS News, the Ellisons of Barry Weiss, this time from their deferential and subservient posture towards their king, Benjamin Netanyahu. This is Seth Antilles. Furthermore, Major Garrett allowed Netanyahu to give full answers to the questions, and Garrett actually listened to Netanyahu's responses. This is much different than the old game of gotcha that the media likes to play with Israel. You mean doing reporting? Like, this is not a game of gotcha. You have a literal war criminal who has brought this country, the United States of America, into a dangerous military quagmire, and you're all complimenting the glaze session that 60 Minutes conducted for longer than 60 minutes, mind you, for 78 minutes total. By the way, this isn't even true. It's good to see Weiss and Ellison's project of turning CBS News into Israeli state TV is going well. This is not true because Israeli television, okay, Israeli press is, for better or for worse, infinitely more critical of Benjamin Netanyahu, which is why he famously doesn't do Israeli press. Ironically enough, there's only one channel that was offering him favorable coverage, and that's the reason why he's being prosecuted in the Israeli courts. This isn't me defending Israeli press, by the way. I'm just saying that's how insane CBS News is. Here's another example. Haaretz. Yossi Varder writes, watching the entire broadcast sharpened the sense of discomfort, not to say concern, that every Israeli citizen who is not a part of the diehard BBS must feel. Netanyahu looked tired, pale, even through layers of makeup. He was almost exhausted. His eyes protruded with heavy bags beneath them. He spoke weakly without his characteristic bombast. Even when he tried to project strength and arrogance, he mostly conveyed defeat and fatigue. Oh, he just looked too weak. That's the problem. Thank you, Haaretz. Yeah. The real problem is that he's been boycotting Israeli media for the past 5 years and has been exclusively giving to friendly outlets in the U.S. American media needs to do a better job, and that's starting by asking him why he's not answering questions from Israelis. It's true. Eitan is correct. Benjamin Netanyahu famously doesn't even do Israeli press because Israeli press knows him better. Okay, Israeli press does not glaze him as hard. For example, if he'd never do Haaretz, obviously. He'd never do even Haaretz, which is, liberal Zionist. Sometimes they have anti-Zionist writers too. Much respect to Gideon Levy. But for the most part, he won't even go on other channels, okay? He literally does not go on other Israeli channels. I thought Israelis were just as monstrous and aligned with Netanyahu on a lot of the foreign policy decisions, the overwhelming majority of Israelis do align with Benjamin Netanyahu. When it comes to striking Iran, it's like 75%. Okay. When it comes to striking Lebanon, 75 to 85%. It's usually just the Palestinian citizens of Israel that don't align with Benjamin Netanyahu. The Jewish citizens of Israel, on the other hand, not my demographic designation, the Israeli ethno-states demographic distinction, for the record, they usually are unbelievably in support. Same with starving Gaza, same with killing Palestinians. They've unconditionally offered full tilt loyalty to the Netanyahu administration. However, there are, of course, distinctions, right? For example, there are a lot of forces in the country that are, and this might come as a surprise to you, to the right of Benjamin Netanyahu, a lot of them, and they're growing. Right? There's the Haredi population. There is a minuscule ultra-Orthodox population that's also anti-Zionist, ironically enough. They get their ass beat all the time by the Israeli police. They mostly live in Jerusalem. Then there is the much larger Haredi coalition that, on the one hand, wants Israel to be as violent as possible, but on the other hand, doesn't want to actually serve in the IDF. You have the secular forces within the country that are very frustrated with the Haredi population, but they all still unite when it comes to killing Palestinians, when it comes to killing the Lebanese, when it comes to killing Iranians. They all unite on killing Arabs. They just have a different method or they have a different way of going about it, right? But the difference is Israeli press knows Benjamin Netanyahu a lot better than the American press does. And they have their own personal things that they want to ask him. They want to ask him about the corruption case. They want to ask him about October 7. From the perspective of the Israeli victims of October 7. Like there are ongoing court cases, for example, about how much did the government actually know before October 7 and what kind of security failures took place, because there's active court cases from family members of those who were killed during October 7, right? So that's a question that no American journalist is ever going to ask Benjamin Netanyahu. That's like an Israeli-related that's like entirely just like an internal Israel related issue. There's questions about whether secular outlets could ask, why haven't you forced the Haredis to actually forcibly conscript to the military? The Haredi population would ask, why are you even entertaining the abolition of the religious exemption that the Haredi population gets in order not to serve? These are all different kinds of outlets that would ask different kinds of questions to Benjamin Netanyahu. And knowing full well, Benjamin Netanyahu knows that this is exactly the line of question that he can't answer. He just doesn't do Israeli news. There's also obviously the court case as well. I think it's related to what is it, N14? That's the one where there was a bribery scandal and a prosecution that's active still that he keeps pushing back, mind you. What the fuck is this? I'm spiraling Twitch emote. So yes, he avoids them. Yeah, his only interviews is for Channel 14, which is run by Netanyahu loyalists and is now facing investigation for inciting against the judiciary.
What do you mean? What are you saying?
What I'm saying is that I want to draw down to zero the American financial support, the financial component of the military cooperation that we have, because we receive $3.8 billion a year. Now it's true you spend trillions of dollars or hundreds of billions and billions of dollars in Afghanistan and so on. And one of your senators said, hell, if we had in Israel instead of Afghanistan, over there, we wouldn't have to spend $1 trillion. It'd be a lot cheaper. But I'm saying it's going to be a lot cheaper because I want to draw down the American support for Israel to zero. We've come of age. We have a booming economy. After 3 years of war, our currency is the strongest it's ever been in the last 50 years, maybe more. Our stock market is one of the leading stock markets in the world. It's because we have this very high-tech juggernaut economy, one of the two centers of cross-discipline, breaking technologies, just changing the world. And we have a lot of talent here, which we share with our American friends, and we're going to share it with our Arab friends too. And I think that it's time that we weaned ourselves from the remaining military support and go from aid to partnership. So I want to draw it down, and then I want to suggest projects, joint projects for intel, for weapons, for missile defense. Israel, I think, is a leader in this in the world. Many countries come to us for it. If you'd like to share it with the United States, we put an exact amount of money. You put the same. We share the fruits. Exactly. Now, I'm not just speaking here because I did this. We had financial aid. When I first came in 1990.
And everyone is saying, good, start now. This is a way to try to avoid further scrutiny. Okay? When we say we got to stop all funds to Israel, we're not trying to just stop paying for Israel's defenses, which, obviously perfectly valid demand. But the real problem is what we need to do is hold the Leahy law and maintain the Leahy law that is already in the books and stop selling any weapons to Israel, even if Israel is buying it with their own money. Okay, we need to embargo Israel. We need to offer sanctions to the state of Israel, and we need to punish Israel. We need to keep Israel. We need to hold Israel accountable. Okay. Yes, the line that the U.S. must end aid to Israel did indeed originate from Netanyahu and the Israeli Security Consensus, which is why J Street adopted it and promoted it as a progressive stance when it's a fairly transparent counterinsurgency PR tactic. I don't think it necessarily was like a Benjamin Netanyahu invention. I do think that a lot of people have been saying that because that's like the tip of the spear, right? That's the first most appropriate action to take. But it doesn't mean it stops there.
1996.
Yes.
First time I became prime minister. And I was invited by the U.S. Congress for a joint session, one of 4 sessions. And I was a young prime minister at the time. So I said, you give us financial aid and you give us military aid, which also costs money. So I think we're going to change Israel to be a free market, high-tech juggernaut. And as a result of that, I'm saying that we can wean ourselves of the financial aid that we were given. And all my advisors said, what is he doing? What is he doing for a headline? He's giving up such an important part of the economy. I said, no, it's not a headline. We are going to make this free market revolution, which I led and we did. And Israel indeed became preeminent and really a gigantic force. What we did on the economic side, I'm now going to do on the military side and basically have no American financial aid even on the military side for Israel.
Can you give me a timetable?
I said, let's start now and do it over the next decade, over the next 10 years, but I want to start now. I don't want to wait for the next Congress. I want to start now. And, it could go down very fast. But the most important thing, General Keane, who was head of one of your intelligence services, said of what Israel gave to the United States, just on intel, he said it's worth 5 CIAs. Now, I don't know if it's worth 5 CIAs or 1 CIA. I respect the CIA a lot. But intangible matters. Israel is your best ally. It's the only one that really provides you with gems of intelligence, shares our incredible technology, appreciates every penny that you gave us, deeply appreciates.
God damn, dude. In 1996, he was pledging this already. Yeah, it was back then, as we know. U.S. foreign aid to Israel. Israel's bold initiative to reduce U.S. aid. Look, think about all the good things that we're doing. Think about all the big benefits that we're giving you. All of the dog intelligence that seemingly always ends up benefiting our goals in the region, by the way. It's just so good, though. It's so good. And in exchange for that, we also get to dominate your domestic politics, okay? We get to literally run the show. Like, there's no other country that gets to have a foreign lobbying arm that think tanks that are invested primarily in a foreign country's foreign policy. Okay, FDD is that, AIPAC is that, J Street is that, for the record. Just so you understand, like J Street, sure, they're liberal Zionists, but yeah, they're a foreign lobby. Okay, and yeah, they might actually end up, funding certain candidates that are at least skeptical of Israel every now and then, but it's a foreign lobby nonetheless. Okay, there's no other country that has this level of deep penetration in student government, in the actual government. That has been able to write bills that undermine the First Amendment that Americans seemingly care so much about. They say they care about it a lot, and yet in 38 states, it is illegal to engage in BDS and also maintain a job. In the state of Texas, public school teachers have to write a loyalty pledge to the nation state of Israel. Like it's totally ridiculous. Okay, if we're being honest, we give them billions of dollars a year, and in return, they give us the burnt peanut. I think it's a fair trade, at least whenever my wife's boyfriend allows me to watch The Gooper. That's crazy. I hope you're gooping up, man.
If you go in Israel today, it's not like other countries. Like, everybody's pro-American because we appreciate what America stands for. We appreciate the aid that was given. We appreciate what is happening now.
Yeah, this is all. Again, he's only saying this because Israel's been forced into this position, but also this line is so vague that it can mean many things. For example, he contrasts aid with joint projects, but some U.S. aid already goes towards those. Demand specificity when you hear this line. And of course, this doesn't touch other relevant features of the special relationship, like the emergency funding or weapons transfers that sustain Israel's atrocities over the past few years, or the U.S. law that says our government must maintain Israel's qualitative military edge. Think about it, man. We got a goddamn anti-Zionist mayor in the city of New York who literally said he would arrest this guy if he stepped on New York soil, which already was going to be impossible to conduct regardless, but I'm glad he said it. Now, you got synagogues still doing land fairs, settler fairs, illegally stolen land. And the mayor still comes out and says, oh, well, you know, both sides are at fault for noticing this and saying something about it. Or the state government under the leadership of Kathy Hochul is trying to sneak in additional provisions to create protest barriers between places of worship where they get to do illegal land sales. Like, what the fuck are we doing? What is this country, man? Are we even a country at all? Like, what are we? It feels like we're just the unlimited purse for a bunch of different interest groups and a foreign country that gets to dominate our politics. That's what America's all about. You work every day, okay? And at the end of the month, there's a piece, or at the end of every 2 weeks when you get paid, there's a chunk of that's taken out of your salary, okay? And that just goes directly to all of these different corporate interests and also Israel. It's awesome. And you get to have no say on this process. And if you were to even demand this change in any way, shape, or form, you are branded a villain in society. You're branded, you're branded a criminal, okay? You're branded a dangerous terrorist that must be stopped at all costs. How is this a country? We're not a country at all. We're 50 corporations and one country, Israel, in a trench coat, you know? God forbid you call it out, then, oh no, you're anti-Semitic. You're the most anti-Semitic man that's ever existed. You're worse than Adolf Hitler, who Benjamin Netanyahu in this interview that we're watching will actually have some nice things to say in comparison to Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran, which is worse than Adolf Hitler, he says.
We appreciate President Trump's resolute stand and the fact that the American military is performing so miraculously and so bravely alongside our brave people, our brave pilots and soldiers. We appreciate all that. But I think it's time that we ended over time an agreed schedule, American military aid, and move from aid to partnership.
The British ambassador earlier this year said privately, it's since come out, that Britain does not have a special relationship with the United States anymore. He said if there's a special relationship, it's between Israel and the United States. From your vantage point, is that correct?
I don't always find myself in agreement with British ambassadors, but I'll have to agree on this one.
I'd like to ask you about what you know, because in our conversations here the last couple of days, we picked up some interesting suggestions about this, about China providing materially valuable military support to what remains of the Iranian regime. True?
China gave a certain amount of support and particular components of missile manufacturing, but I can't say more than that.
Does that disturb you?
Well, I didn't like it, but I think that if China weighs its interests, does it really want to have Iran controlling the waterways to supply the energy that China needs? Would it not prefer to have open waterways that are not subjected to this kind of violent blackmail? You know, not everything is a zero-sum game. Just as you know, if you think about it, you know, I'm talking about the brilliant future of AI, but there's dangers in AI. A lot of dangers. It's not just a simple proposition.
Yeah, that's what kept him alive. That's what this interview is. This is an AI interview. He's dead.
So you have to advance the benefits and contain the dangers. Would it not make sense, and I'm sure it will, for President Trump and President Xi in their upcoming meeting to talk about advancing humanity's benefits out of AI, but jointly controlling the dangers that could be quite frightening. So, you know, it's not everything is a zero-sum game, and I don't think everything is a zero-sum game when it comes to Iran. Do you really want to have a fanatic regime with nuclear weapons that is committed to Islamist revolutions? That's what Iran's constitution says. We're committed to export the Islamist
China should
revolution. So China, I think, should think about.
Because it's apparently doing it right now.
Could be. Yeah, I don't want to speak for China. I don't want to speak also.
But you have
for
eyes and ears on this.
Yeah, well, you know, but I also have a closed mouth when necessary.
When you
revolutions. That's what Iran's constitution says. We're committed to export the Islamist
China should
revolution.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's time. Xi Jinping aura edit. I know I criticized China's foreign policy a little bit, but as a matter of fact, not a little bit. I criticized the Beijing foreign policy quite a bit, okay? But goddamn, this literally has his dick firmly planted in the American president's ass. But when it comes to asking questions, when it comes to asking or answering any questions about China, he takes on a very different shape. What is this? What is this? Jackson Hinkle on CGTN showing off their engineering prowess while our country sucks this guy's cock.
This is such a crazy view. We are very high up. I'm trying not to look down because I don't want to see.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. China's big enough. He's Wario Hassan. China's big enough for the both of us. Hey, I'm jealous much? No, it's fine. I've done CGTN. Also, this is not even the American contingency. This is a Russian. This is their Russian contingent. Okay, no one sent me a single damn Xi Jinping aura edit. What the f is going on here? This community is washed, bro. Y'all are washed, dude. You don't have one good one? You don't have a single damn good aura edit for Xi Jinping? Also, TikTok is so busted. I searched Xi Jinping aura edit and nothing above 30,000 likes pulls up. Oh, what's up, Beijing?
What's up, Beijing?
What's up, Beijing?
So China, I think, should think about,
Because it's apparently doing it right now.
could be. I don't want to speak for China. I don't want to speak also.
But you have
for
eyes and
President,
ears on this.
I don't want to speak for China. Wait, oh God.
What's up, Beijing?
He's literally, look at his hands, bro. He's clasping his hands. He's like, oh God, I better not say anything about China, the real leader of the world. Like, obviously, America used to have some motion, man. We are so humiliated. Like, honestly, we are so cucked. It's crazy. This country would not exist without our $380 billion over the course of 80 years, okay? Without our social cover, without our political cover, without our financial aid, without our military aid. And he has no respect for us at all. Meanwhile, he gets pressed on one question about China. He's like, I don't know. What's China? What's China if not a glorious nation? I mean, the People's Republic. I'm very much a fan. Very good guy, the Xi Jinping. He's so cool. We're on the cuck chair, dude. In this human centipede of Trump is throwing it back for Bibi and Bibi's throwing it back for Xi. That's what's going on.
Yeah, well, but I also have a closed mouth when necessary.
When you talked to my colleague Leslie Stahl in 2016, you mentioned having a conversation with President Putin about Syria, saying we don't want an inadvertent clash between Israel and Russia, and you worked it out. You said so in that interview. How do you regard Russia's support for Iran now, materially and otherwise? Is that something that could create an inadvertent clash between Israel and Russia over Iran because if it's existentially important to Israel? Might it get to that stage?
I think there was a lot of cooperation between them in the beginning phases of the Ukraine war because Iran was supplying drones.
Right.
But
I mean Russian support for Iran now.
But I have to tell you, there's not been that much support. I don't think it's because of us. I think it's because Iran, or rather Russia maybe, thinks that some of the things that Iran does is not necessarily to its favor. But it's a mixed bag.
He's not wrong on this, by the way. No, he's not scared of Russia. He's, dude, Russia cooperates with Israel. I've literally been saying from the jump, I can't stand this shit. Russia absolutely cooperates with Iran too, of course. But you know who else Russia cooperates with? Turkey, okay? Russia is a regional power with ambitions of becoming a great power, okay? You could say it's a world power for sure. But in the regions that it has direct investment and direct interest in, Russia plays all sides all the time. There is no like anti-imperialist fervor here. There is no anti-imperialist ideology in the way that Russia behaves. I need you to understand. Just like there's no anti-imperialism in the core of China either. However, both of these countries might inadvertently act out in an anti-imperialist manner, right? For pure strategic interests. Like some of their actions might actually inadvertently end up striking a blow at American military power or American superiority, American hegemony. But they're not motivated to take sides against America or its allies. As a matter of fact, Putin has always maintain the position that Israel and Russia are brotherly nations. Yeah, here it is. Putin says he considers Israel a Russian-speaking country. Israel is home to almost 2 million migrants from former Soviet states. Out of the second languages spoken in Israel, Russian is I think just as popular, if not more popular than English. Russia considers Israel a Russian-speaking nation. Putin made the statement during a speech on Tuesday in Moscow at an event organized by the United Israel Appeal, a Zionist organization responsible for collecting funds. Citizens of Russia and Israel are connected by ties of family, kinship, and friendship. There's a real network, a common family. Israel is also the entry point to the global marketplace for many Russian oligarchs. Do you understand? Putin also said he would travel to Israel in January at the invitation of President Reuven Rivlin to attend events dedicated to the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz concentration camp and International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And not only that, but also this is from 2019. There's a reason why Israel was not so pro-Ukraine. I mean, Zelensky's literally Jewish, okay? The leader of Ukraine is straight up Jewish, and Israel was like, you're on your own. Zelensky begged America and Israel for the Iron Dome when the Russian invasion began. This is one of the many reasons why I'm far more reluctant and outright against a lot of the actions that Russia takes, as opposed to my analysis when I talk about China is very different than Russia. I have criticisms of China, just as I have criticisms of Russia. But they're very different criticisms. So just understand. Yeah, China is the second largest trade partner to Israel, for example. Yes, I know this. I am the one who has been saying this for a very long time. What country is anti-imperialist? Burkina Faso. I mean, kind of, I guess. They're on their own journey. Why are you still alive? You should fix that. Shifty 5. Wait, I want to hear what other wonderful things this guy is going to say. I wonder who is closer to suicide, the Twitch streamer or the guy on a sock account begging the Twitch streamer to kill himself. Like, neither of us might be all that close to committing suicide, but I don't think I'm the one who's closer between you and I. You know what I mean?
It's not a direct black and white. You know, sometimes they have mixed interests, so they support.
You're about to get clipped? Wait, what? Why?
And don't support them on other things.
So you detect minimal support from Russia in this conflict?
You mean military support?
Yes.
Direct military support. That's not been a big issue.
How about intelligence support?
Let me leave it to what I said.
Let's go to Gaza real quick. Again, when you talked to Tony DeCopel back in 2025, this was right after the border peace. He said we have a chance, we're going to give peace a chance. Subsequently, we would have both the demilitarization and disarmament of Hamas. Hamas has to give up its arms. You must make sure there are no weapons factories inside.
I think Iran doesn't trust Russia that much. I think Iran probably trusts China more than they do Russia at this point. But yes, there were plenty of instances in the past 70 plus days where Russia was like, oh, we'll be a mediator for you. And Iran was like, off. So, and they have a lot of Russian gear. And they've sent a lot of Shahed drones to Russia so they can use it in Ukraine. So obviously, even with all of that, the fact that they were like, no, we got this. Don't deal. We don't want you to ruin this deal at all at the behest of Israel means that they definitely don't trust Russia as much as they recognize that they probably should be reliant on China.
Gaza, and there's no smuggling of weapons into Gaza. So 4 things. Disarmament.
Arakshi literally met with Putin himself for 90 minutes. That's longer than he meets with foreign leaders. I think their alliance is growing. Yes, Russia is still an important security partner for Iran. Russia literally has a nuclear power plant. Okay. But again, I think that their partnership is not as, I don't think their partnership is that comprehensive. Will you shake me? No. And the reason why I say this is because like Turkey has ties to Russia. You know, Turkey has ties to Russia. Russia, for the longest time, was the only country crazy enough to fight back against any sort of Western incursion or any sort of Western forces in general. So that's the reason why it's the only game in town for many of these countries, reluctantly or not. Here, I'm shaking you.
No.
Okay. Demilitarization.
No.
Weapons factories.
Reduced a lot, yeah.
Smuggling into Gaza to refit Hamas.
That's really been curtailed because we envelop Hamas now, you know, in Gaza. We envelop it and we cut off their supply route, which was the Philadelphia corridor, to the Sinai. And, you know, everybody was smuggling those weapons. So 2 out of 4. Largely achieved. But the first 2 was supposed to be done by Hamas. That was part of
the 20-point deal.
Right.
Unachieved.
Well, Hamas promised to do it. And they, violated the deal.
Now what?
They never did.
Somebody has to disarm them. Somebody has to then demilitarize Gaza. I would say disarm, demilitarize, de-radicalize, because you don't want these fanatics there.
Is that Israel's obligation, or is that the international community's obligation?
Putin was also caught on camera saying to Arakshi after the 12-day war that you should have let us help. Iran has been avoiding a complete mutual defense pact. That's also, I mean, that could also literally just be Iranian things. That's just how Iran rolls. They've notoriously wanted to maintain sovereignty through all instances for the past 47 years, even when they have long-standing partnerships with other countries. I suspect, depending on how things go at this Beijing summit, you will see either a much closer relationship between China and Iran going forward, or one that completely severs all ties if China just like writes off Iran as a trade-off for, I don't know, normalizing relations with Taiwan or something. Maybe at that point, Iran is kind of, but in the absence of that, I said Taiwan, I know, Taiwan. But in the absence of that, I think, and I don't expect that to take place, by the way, especially because Iran and China have to maintain a better relationship, because China doesn't benefit when the Strait of Hormuz is closed off anyway. And Iran can do it in a not so costly manner, as they have shown the world. So they do have a lot more leverage now. I could see them getting closer to one another for sure. I think the real reason why they weren't as close was because Iran wanted to maintain sovereignty and did not want any long-standing security commitments to any country. Why? China can just take Taiwan militarily. They don't need to trade off Iran. Yeah, okay, buddy. I mean, they can, but who cares? Why haven't they done so then? China has not invaded a country since Vietnam. And not only that, but they don't even intervene non-militarily in instances where it could be beneficial. Chinese companies are shipping hundreds of containers filled with such goods to Russia and Iran, according to Chinese customs data. Items on the packaging list range from engines to computer chips, fiber optic cables, and gyroscopes. Oh no. Wait a minute. They're not allowed to do that. They're only allowed to ship that stuff to us, the United States of America, and numerous other components that we use to blow up schools.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, but I had nothing to do. I blame Doug. They gave it out. I didn't even give it out. So the other people we have, and we have some of the greatest people on earth here tonight, Homeland Security. The Homeland Security team has been unbelievable, I have to tell you. And I came up with an idea that I thought was brilliant. I think all my ideas are brilliant, actually.
I mean, China is not going to sail off Iran trying to get press on Taiwan with matter without needing to do that. No, they can't. They will. You fundamentally misunderstand how China runs. China does not want to militarily overtake Taiwan, or at least they have never shown any interest in doing that. They've only said the exact opposite. It doesn't fit their foreign policy goals at all. It doesn't fit previous historic actions. They want to reunify, but I don't think they want to militarily take over Taiwan.
Just when I knew I was brilliant, then I got a call from Tom Homan. He wasn't thrilled. Where's Tom? Is he here? I love Tom Homan. Said I'm the greatest president in history. I said, Tom, you can't do better than that. Thank you, Tom. So I get a call from Tom Homan. He didn't like it, but everyone else liked it. I wanted to change the name of ICE, which is a tough name, you know, to NICE, so that when the fake news reports, they said it was a nice day with NICE. We spent a beautiful day with NICE. I said, you will screw them up so badly they won't know what to do. But they said the people that worked there didn't like the name as much. I love the name. Hello, Janine. How are you doing? I love Janine. One of the greats of all time, in my opinion. I lived in New York when she was the toughest DA. Toughest fair DA. We had some tough ones, but they were crooked DAs, like sort of, I would say, like a dirty cop, like Comey was a dirty cop, you know, and others were dirty cops. She was a clean cop, but she was tough and fair.
At least he's more alive now than he was earlier. He got his little nappy poo.
Through the board of peace.
Major, find me the countries who would do it. And I said this to our American friends. I said, you know, bring me, it's okay, bring me.
People in the West think that China treats Taiwan like the U.S. treats Cuba. That's such a good analog. Yeah, that's true. It's funny. You're right. They definitely don't do that, by the way.
Countries that are sending their troops, they're going to come into Gaza and say to these killers, give up your arms. And you know what those arms are? It's not, you know, tanks or artillery. It's Kalashnikov rifles, AK-47, with which they terrorize their people and extort money from them for inflated prices of goods, which they took over. So who's going to do that? If it comes down to us, then we'll have to do it. But we'll choose the time and the circumstances in which to do it because, we've got a few other things. But we are not going to let Hamas ever threaten Israel again. And by the way, their threat from Gaza has been reduced. We still have a problem in Lebanon with those rockets, but Hamas is not able to pose the threat to Israel now. But you're right. The disarmament and the demilitarization of Hamas has not been done. Hamas has violated its promise to do so, to voluntarily do so. It'll have to be done. Could be done the hard way. Could be done the easy way. I always prefer the easy way because unlike my caricature image, having been to war, having seen the tragedy of war, having experienced it in my own family, you don't readily dispatch people.
Loves war, dude. I've seen it. I love it. It gets me going. I love the smell of napalm in the morning, charred flesh. It's what keeps me alive. I had ass cancer recently. Well, some people say it's dick and balls cancer because it's prostate, and it fixed it up real quick. I love murder. I love death. I love destruction.
Young men and sometimes young women into the battlefield. So if we have a way to do it, we'll look at other ways as well.
Though, Mr.
Famously, Israel loves taking the non-violent intervention route.
Prime Minister, there is an impression about you that is not exactly the opposite, but that it is a hunger that people perceive in you for conflict.
That's funny, because for years, I was considered, right before the October 7th, I was considered perhaps the most restrained prime minister in Israel's history. I did embark on 3 major operations in Gaza, but I didn't send our soldiers in there, except to gum up some tunnels. But I didn't want to send them in there because of what I told you. So I was conceived as being, politically tough, but militarily very restrained. Obviously, it changed on October 7th because they were going to annihilate us. I didn't think it was just an attack by Hamas. I saw it as it was, an attack by the Iran axis to try to annihilate us through a noose of death. So I knew we'd have to tackle Hamas, and then Hezbollah, and then the Assad regime, which we helped bring down, and then Iran itself, and the Houthis. That came later. And I said on the second day of the war, I said, we're going to change the Middle East. We're going to change this condition where they're ganging up on us, thinking they're going to wipe out the one and only Jewish state, wipe out 3,500 years of Jewish history. It's not going to happen. Not on my watch. And I said to the Israeli citizens, not on your watch. They're so brave. The soldiers are so brave. The people are so brave that they said they went with this. And we were able to perform miracles because of the strength of the people, because of their sense of history, understanding that history and the Almighty, well, it's not going to give the Jewish people another chance. We came back from the dead, from endless pogroms, expulsions, massacres, and the Holocaust. We came back. Are we going to yield to the Ayatollahs and their murderous proxies? No. And this tiny country emerged like a giant, to fight for its life, but not only for our life. Major, I want you to know that in Iran, they name streets after me. Do you know that? Well, after President Trump too, obviously, because he's leading the fight. But they have this, I don't speak Farsi, but they call me Bibi June, beloved Bibi. Bibi June. They name public squares, and as soon as they put they put the signs on, the Revolutionary Guards tear down. But they know
this guy's beloved everywhere but Israel. That's the other side of the story. They like his actions in Iran, the Israelis do. They like his actions in Lebanon, they like his actions in Gaza, but they don't like him. So seemingly he's more popular everywhere else. He's like, I'd be popular in America if it wasn't for the bots. I'm so popular in Iran. Well, you can't check. So might as well just say those things. I'm popular everywhere. I'm the most popular guy everywhere. Later, he talks about how popular he is in India.
That while we're fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for them too. They know what few of the leaders in Europe understand, that in fighting here, we're preventing militant Islam from taking over their countries, which is a process that unfortunately has proceeded quite a lot. They understand that. So, I'm very proud of the fact that the Jewish people in Israel and the non-Jewish citizens of Israel banded together, that we put aside our differences. There are many, we're a boisterous country, we have divisions and so on. But at the moment of truth, and in the moments of truth,
Netanyahu repeats the Bibi June narrative, which I exposed as a fake reporter began as a deep fake, was pushed out by pro-Israeli influencers during the first days of the war, became a real meme, and then went viral with Iranian expats. This is Omar Ben Jacob, disinfo cyber reporter at Haaretz. We investigated the origin of a video that blew up during the first days of the war that allegedly showed people chanting for Netanyahu in Tehran. What happens next is a lesson in misinfo and how narratives spread using real people. The bogus narrative spreads, amplified by pro-Netanyahu media accounts and real news sites looking for feel-good stories during the war. That's the narrative that Iranians who want regime change also want Netanyahu went viral, though it was flagged as AI. Unlike other Israeli influence ops against Iran that use fake accounts, this one wasn't linked to Israel and used real influencers, in contrast to what Gur Megiddo and me found in the investigation into Persian language online campaigns funded by Israel. This is also part of the reason why I said Israeli media is better at dealing with Benjamin Netanyahu's book than American media is. Like, Israeli media might agree with Benjamin Netanyahu's actions in spirit, right? But like they're obviously going to be better equipped at dealing with this. This is Israeli media. This is Haaretz, right? Meanwhile, our dumbass is like, oh, they're saying Bibi June? That's so cool. That's so cool, Mr. Netanyahu, the true king of America. Thank you. Thank you for saying this.
Stood up together against these barbarians, and we're fighting the battle of civilization against the barbarians who couldn't give a hoot about human rights and who not only behead women, but tear out the hearts. I just saw this in Syria by these Islamists. They tear out the heart of a Druze, that's a non-Islamist sect, of a Druze man lying out, and they eat the heart out while the man is still kitchen.
Bro, he stopped. He literally, look at this point where he goes, should I go this far? I mean, he's really just listening to everything I'm saying. Look.
Rights and who not only behead women, but tear out the hearts. I just saw this in Syria by these Islamists. They tear out the heart of a Druze, that's a non-Islamist sect, of a Druze man lying out, and they...
Look. This is the moment where he's like, should I go even further with this? Because he's just eating everything I'm putting down. Like, he's like, okay, I'm going to say it.
The heart out while the man is...
He's smiling. Come on. He's literally like, are you this stupid? Are you really listening to everything I'm saying right now? Look at his face. Guys, this is 60 Minutes. Okay, this used to be one of the more important like media institutions for decades, okay? 60 Minutes is a profoundly important media institution. Sure, they have their moments where they're doing State Department propaganda, but like it's unbelievable. This is incredible. This is the death of American media, okay?
You could say, well, okay, everything is relative. No, it's not. This is evil, pure evil. And if we don't muster the will, the resolve to stand up to this evil, then we don't have a future. Now, if people accuse me of being militant in fighting this evil, yes, I'm militant in that sense. But I don't seek wars. I've been through them. I've been in battle. I've seen friends die in battle.
And you would reject any characterization of...
No, I can't do very much of that, because you can get into the cell phones and you can repeat again and again that I'm a warmonger. Remember what
indiscriminate, sometimes used.
Yeah, indiscriminate. We're as discriminating as surgical as any army has ever been in history. Not only with the beepers and not only with those leaders in Iran and not only...
But in Lebanon and in Gaza.
In Lebanon and Gaza, yes. We do everything we can to avoid it. We've killed 2,000 terrorists now since the beginning of the Roaring Lion, Epic Fury. And we've been very careful to target them. But it's, if people say that you're a warmonger and they repeat it ad nauseum, it assumes the cachet of self-evident truth. And that's what's happening. You get into their cell phone. You get the bots to repeat it. You show a picture here, a picture there of a tragedy. For us in Israel, every civilian death is a tragedy. For our enemies, it's a strategy. They implant themselves among civilians, so that they have civilian casualties and they can put it on the tube or in your cell phone. So yes, I don't know how to fight it. Churchill...
Yeah, I can't stop myself. I have to kill the babies. It's just, they know. That's why they keep having children. It's a strategy. They want to keep having children because they know I have an unlimited appetite for killing them. You see, if they keep having children, I'm going to have to keep killing those children. Okay? I have to. I love it. It's my favorite thing to do.
Without cell phones and without digital campaigns and farm bots, was labeled a warmonger in the 1930s because he said you have to stand up to Hitler. And they accused him of being a warmonger. And Hitler didn't even say death to America, death to Britain. I think he might have planned it, but he didn't say.
This was the best part. Look.
Without cell phones and without digital campaigns and farm bots, was labeled a warmonger in the 1930s because he said you have to stand up to Hitler. And they accused him of being a warmonger. And Hitler didn't even say death to America, death to Britain. I think he might have planned it, but he didn't say it.
I'm ambiguous on this Hitler guy, Benjamin Netanyahu. Bro, I'm telling you, he's so insane. Back in the day, I used to love bringing up the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu is a Holocaust revisionist, okay? Benjamin Netanyahu and Ethan Klein both, ironically enough, have engaged in the exact same slander. Ethan Klein used it in his weird, I want to silence my critics by submitting them to unbelievable amounts of litigation initiative. And Benjamin Netanyahu both have engaged in the same Holocaust revisionism. The idea that Hitler actually didn't want to kill the Jews, but instead he wanted to simply transfer them, but then he got the idea to kill the Jews from the Grand Mufti in Palestine, which was, a British occupation colonial ruler regardless. Yeah, for years, Netanyahu's been hinting Palestinians aren't just the new Nazis, but are actually worse than the Third Reich. Remember the Husseini made Hitler exterminate the Jew stuff since October 7. He's been yelling it from the rooftops. Now, the problem is, back then, when he first came out with that statement, he said if I had Hitler, bin Laden, and Ayatollah in front of me and I had the gun with 2 bullets, I shoot the Ayatollah twice. Wait, did he actually say that? But I don't know if he actually said that. I don't remember that. But what I am telling you is true. The whole idea that Hitler, he came out, bro watches The Office. Oh, okay. He came out and he said Hitler actually didn't want to exterminate the Jews. He got the idea from the Grand Mufti of Palestine at the time. Okay. Which is just unbelievably not true. Okay. And it is actually directly revisionist, is a Holocaust revisionism. And he got yelled at by a lot of prominent Jewish institutions at the time that were like, what the f are you saying? That's objectively not true. Hitler absolutely wanted to kill the Jews. But it's insane to claim that he didn't want to kill the Jews. He was killing the Jews when he met with the Grand Mufti by that point. And he wrote extensively about his opinions on what must be done to the Jews. Yeah, he said Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews at the time of the meeting between the Mufti and the Nazi leader. He wanted to expel the Jews, Netanyahu said in a speech. And Haj Amin al-Husseini went to Hitler and said, if you expel them, they'll all come here to mandatory Palestine. Continued the prime minister. So what should I do with them? Hitler asked, according to Netanyahu. And Husseini said, burn them. So that was his statement. Israelis say things that a German would go to prison for. Oh, 100. Regular people. I don't like how the U.S. is beholden to Israel. Zionists, how dare you, anti-Semite. Netanyahu, Hitler had chill-ass vibes. I'd roll a blunt with him. So even if he got the idea elsewhere, he still did it? What the fuck? No. It's very important to understand that Hitler definitely did not get the idea from elsewhere, okay? Because it's just not true. Yeah, what do you think? When he was writing Mein Kampf, he was like, ooh, I'm going to have this ghost written by the Grand Mufti in Palestine. Is that what you think was going on? They were pen pals? No, that was all him, man. He wrote that. And not only did he write that, he wrote that with purpose. Okay. The purpose was anti-Semitism was all the rage at the time. Okay. It literally was the connective tissue amongst the lumpenproles, amongst the reactionary class. Okay. It was so poppin' at the time, it was so in fashion to be anti-Semitic at the time that the New York Times wrote about one of Hitler's rallies where Hitler was doing the classic, Jews are responsible for everything nonsense, right? And the New York Times was like, Hitler's just saying that to be popular. This is more of this fake populism that Hitler is engaging in. He's not going to do to the Jews. He's just saying that. People, that's how popular it was, that it was a popular sentiment that public figures would lean into. And that's important to identify. That's important to recognize. These are important aspects of history that we must not forget, which is why I openly, and alongside many other Jewish institutions at the time, called this to be Holocaust revisionism. This was also the reason why Hitler had the support of some reactionary Jewish Germans early on as well. Yes, because they also thought he was being fake. They literally were like, oh, he's just saying it. He's not going to act on it. He's just saying it because every politician has to say it's the Jews in order to win support from the crowd. You know who wasn't doing that at the time, by the way, in a country that also was unbelievably anti-Semitic? Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. Okay? Who wrote extensively on how anti-Semitism was used as a tool by the reactionary and how we must not lean into silly partitions such as this to segment out members of the working class by national, ethnic, religious distinctions, that we must not engage with the opportunists who are engaging with this kind of reactionary sentiment in an effort to win support from a larger crowd. So just remember that. That's why it's really funny when these talk about. That's why I get mad at so many people, even in the pro-Palestine movement, who are like, bro, you're doing Jewish exceptionalism. It's like, no, I'm not. I talk extensively about the responsibility of Jewish institutions in not leaning into the notion that Zionism and Judaism are inseparable. okay? And how much Jewish institutions actually run defense for Israel all the time and how damaging and dangerous that is. But ultimately, I will never believe that an entire people are a monolithic force. That's just not how it works, okay? That's why I still take a principled stance both against Zionism, but also against anti-Semitism, which really pisses people off. All the stupids.
Still, they accused him of that.
And he won the war and lost the re-election.
He lost. Yeah, it happened. It happened.
Yeah, see, this is it. New York Times, 1922. Hitler's anti-Semitism was not so genuine. Yeah, dude, come on. Don't make me put the doctor's robe on, okay? You know, I am Dr. Jihad. Okay, I have a PhD in racism. I know all the Nazis. I know all the racist. I know my racism history very well. Okay, spent a whole damn life learning about this.
I mean, when people say to me, "Oh, I go in the streets and people," I have a lot of support here, contrary to what people describe. And they tell me, "Bibi, you're a king." And I said, "You're a king." I said, "I'm not a king. I have to get elected. Kings don't have to be elected. I have to be elected. Can I have your vote?"
Bro, he's just like Trump.
But that's the reality, and you're maligned. I think the difference for the Jewish people is this. We've been maligned. Anti-Semitism, which has shown its ugly head recently. You see it in America, you see it in Europe, you see it in Australia. We have these horrible attacks, including in the United States. Jews gunned down. Saw this beautiful couple working for our embassy in Washington, gunned down right next to the entrance of the Holocaust Museum in Washington. And they asked me, what is this resurgence of anti-Semitism? And I tell them that's exactly what it is. It's a resurgence. For the 2 millennia in which we were flung to the far corners of the earth, the Jewish people, we suffered expulsion, massacre in one country after the other. We left one country, were massacred in another, left for another. And always, these massacres were preceded by vilification, by slanders. We were spreading vermin. We were, I think probably the people that the Jewish people has a lot of hygienic codes, so to accuse us of spreading vermin, poisoning the wells, all that stuff, and that always preceded the massacre. Now, what has happened since the rebirth of the Jewish state is that anti-Semitism, this vile vilification of the Jews, took a reprieve after the Holocaust. It took a reprieve. It took 80 years. It wasn't fashionable to be anti-Semitic, so you didn't say these things in polite society. But it's come back. It's almost like it accompanies us throughout.
What is that about?
What is that about? Yeah, you're literally sitting across from the guy. Okay, we're all trying to find out who did this. Okay, I wonder why. After so many decades of association between Israel and its heinous actions and Judaism, has anti-Semitism increased in this country? How could this have happened? It must be the foreign bots. It's everybody else. Okay, it's everybody else, brother. This interview is an anti-Semite's dream, okay? Nowadays, David Duke-style anti-Semites and Nick Fuentes-style anti-Semites don't even have to do propaganda. They just point to this. They literally, I've seen it. I've seen Nick Fuentes literally go, "Oh yeah, you want to tell me Jews don't control the media? Talk to me about the Ellison purchase of CBS News." I've heard him say those words. Okay? People are not that stupid, right? They can see what the fuck is going on. They can see when a massive billionaire who's unbelievably pro-Israel purchases a major news outlet to say, "Hey, we are going to make this outlet more pro-Israel and more pro-Donald Trump," who is also unbelievably pro-Israel, when they do it in broad daylight, like you're just basically educating people to be anti-Semitic. You're just trying to get them to be anti-Semitic, it seems. It's incredible. Look who's trying to be relevant again. Hamas, a genocidal organization. Hassan Piker knows that. Sam Harris. Oh, God. This guy is a disgusting monster when it comes to anything Islam related. Anyway, I wonder where this anti-Semitism stuff's coming from.
Right there, because in my career, which started in 1990 in Washington, up until very recently, it was an established fact in Congress. Established fact. The Republicans and Democrats had a default proposition favorable to Israel. Not always, not universally, but a default.
Wait, dude, these people will never learn, I think. He went from anti-Semitism is growing in the country, how did this happen, to, well, obviously both parties were uniparty when it came to Israel. It was an established fact. Oh, I wonder why people are anti-Semitic, dog. Yeah, associate the country that has done a genocide and an apartheid with unlimited support in the United States of America. The conspiracies write themselves. What the do you mean? There is literally no other country where you would say this about. There's no other country. Call that country the Jewish state a million times over. Well, what kind of lesson are you teaching people? Okay? I mean, seriously, what are we doing? What are we doing? And it's unbelievable and insanely frustrating that there are American Jews who are fearful enough into thinking and believing that, like, if Israel doesn't exist in the violent ways that it does, then we're all going to experience the Holocaust again. And they just can't see that every time they lean into this Jewish state, okay, that Israel has to have a demographic majority of Jews. Otherwise, the Holocaust will be triggered. Every person over the age of like 50, every Jewish American over the age of 50 is also leaning into this. Anytime, and I know there's plenty of anti-Zionist Jews in this chat, but like anytime one of your older relatives, and I know you know this already, so I'm, preaching to the choir and repeating something that you know already and have experienced a million times. But anytime one of your relatives is like literally having a conversation in broad daylight where they come across as hysterical, other people go, ooh, I guess this is a big deal. And it doesn't cause people to go, let me really check myself anymore. Back in the day, it did. Back in the day, people would go, you know what? Maybe I am being anti-Semitic. I do care about this person. I care about their perspective. I care about not offending them. Maybe there is some legitimacy to what they're saying because I'm not exactly knowledgeable on the issue of Israel. I'm not knowledgeable on whatever Palestine is. I don't know any of that, okay? That was how it used to work before 2023. Now, everybody knows what the Israel is doing, what the Israel is up to. So when you still use the same old techniques of going, how dare you say anything about Israel? God, you're such an anti-Semite. People go, okay, you're a little crazy. I'm just not going to talk to you about this. And also my opinion of you has lowered substantially. And it's crazy because like in that weird isolation, I think people who are pro-Israel have become even more insane. Okay. They've become hysterical, and people like Josh Gottheimer absolutely play fantastic role in that too. They not only are leading people into more anti-Semitic opinions, but they're also giving confidence to people to lean into these like insane opinions. Insane opinions like, no, Israel's enemies are all just anti-Semitically aggressively against Israel. They care about this because they're anti-Semitic. They don't understand it. That's why I was so frustrated when I tried to, have a normal conversation with the Jewish Telegraphic Association. I literally went to JTA. I was like, look, I want to have a conversation with you guys. I'm not an anti-Semite. You're an aggregator for a lot of the Jewish press. I hope that, I can have a normal conversation. And what do? They did the, ADL press release on the first half of the entire piece. It's crazy. Yeah, look at this. The U.S. Special Envoy on Anti-Semitism under Joe Biden, Deborah Lipstadt, okay, psychopath, who is famously done beeper jokes on conferences and like that. Deborah Lipstadt, in response to Christoph's reporting on sexual abuse of Palestinian detainees, Adam Lewis Klein compared the New York Times to Der Stürmer and ended with the reminder that Streicher was hanged. Former anti-Semitism envoy Deborah Lipstadt amplified it and attacked the Times. Now, Adam Lewis Klein is always in my replies. I purposely don't block him because he's one of the funniest. And probably he's a little bit like Rabbi Shmuley in the way that like, the way he carries himself creates more anti-Zionist by default. He's so funny because he's hilarious. I think a lot of people don't understand the humor that I find in the way that he carries himself and the way that he conducts himself. But it's very funny because he's the most like annoying woke fascist. He is the peak of like maximalist woke homo-fascism. Okay. It's awesome. He will literally use like standpoint epistemology and all of the other tactics of like a crying hyper woke SJW while defending the apartheid state and its genocide. Here it is. I mean, he even responded to Eitan. He said, in response to October 7th genocide, Eitan decided to become a cheerleader for the anti-Zionist hate movement. That's what he calls it. He says the anti-Zionist hate movement. Fire Nick Kristof. Kristof spreads racist anti-Zionist libels and discredits the New York Times. Anti-Israeli bigotry is unacceptable. He's awesome. Giving money to support Adam Lewis Klein should be considered an anti-Zionist act. No Zionist commentator out there is trying as hard as he is to discredit Zionism to rational people. Every tweet he makes hurts the Zionist cause. 100%. He's awesome because he's so shameless in the language that he uses. It's so funny to the normal person. He highlights two of the most annoying things that people hate, okay? being like a unbearable hyper woke person, and leaning heavily into like cancel culture norms, while also simultaneously doing it to defend Israel, the most entitled pariah state on the planet. So it's great. Anyway, Deborah Lipstadt, half-day, the New York Times, no sense of decency and journalistic responsibility. Noah had a funny tweet about this as well. Where is it? I retweeted it. Noah said, lefties, withhold your labor from the New York Times for manufacturing the consent for genocide. Former Biden appointee Deborah Lipstadt, the editors of the New York Times should be hung like Streicher for what gets published about Zionists. Also hanged. I can't believe this man was an editor of the Jewish Currents, and he said hung. Anyway, yesterday in a New York Times piece titled, I'm a Democrat, my party is a double standard on anti-Semitism, Representative Josh Buttheimer cited as evidence Democrats who increasingly excuse or join feverish denunciations of Israel are longstanding Democratic and strategic ally. Nicholas Kristof, New York Times columnist, says, this is a hard article to read, but I hope you'll do so. I've spent some time reporting on widespread rape and other sexual violence of Palestinian male and female prisoners by Israeli authorities, and the article is now published. The assault victims were warned not to speak of what they endured. They were sometimes, oh, by the way, this is literally on the opinion side. Not only is it published years after the fact, this has been reported on. We've extensively covered this stuff for years and years, but they also published it in the opinion side, just so you understand. I mean, I'm glad that it's getting the word out, and I want to know what like the comments have to say about it. 800 comments. Gut-wrenching. I'm so ashamed to be an American. This is not a October 7th phenomenon. Human rights activists and organizations, including B'Tselem, have been reporting systemic sexual violence against Palestinians for decades. Yeah. Adamir is an organization that I have relied on in the past. If you recall, this was a conversation that Ethan Klein and I had on, right after October 7, and his immediate reaction was, oh, that's obviously fake. That's not real. Anyway, where was I? We're watching this, but there was another thing I was going to show you. I guess that's it.
Proposition that began with, yes, that's not true anymore. That's less true than at any other time I've covered Washington. That has to be reflective of something else.
Yes, it is. Well, these are historical cycles, which my
father... historical cycle?
Yes, we are. I mean, anti-Semitism is...
It ebbed and flowed, yes.
But yeah, it ebbed and flowed, but it flowed throughout our history. And the reason it,
But America's not a place where things like that tend to come back.
Well, they can come back. They were there in the 1930s with Father Coughlin, and they ebbed because of the war, but it's come back. What is it? I think it's an interesting question of why this happens, and I think there's a natural human tendency between people, and also between peoples, collective groups. It's called jealousy. And jealousy often, if somebody is very successful, you can be appreciative of them, especially if it's, say, a very successful and strong country. Then you temper your jealousy and you go to respect. But if you...
So these are the embers of envy.
I think it's part of it. I don't think it explains all of it, but I think one thing I can say is that there are many explanations for the phenomenon, the durability of anti-Semitism over the ages. My father was a great historian of this, and we can have a separate discussion on it. But here's the difference. The difference is it seems to be an enduring flow, which sometimes ebbs, as it did in the last 80 years since the Holocaust, and comes back. Even in the best of societies, okay, it comes back. And the difference now is that, whereas before, every time it came, it was accompanied by physical massacre, vilification, then massacre. Now, when they vilify the Jewish state, we don't let the massacre happen. We have the capacity to fight back. We have valiant soldiers.
What the f is this? Why are you sending me Drew Pavlov? Liberal guy with a massive YouTube channel specializing in United States history videos. I would make it my life mission to murder every single white man, woman, and child on the continent. Wait, what?
As soon as we landed, I would use the money to bribe the bosun to look the other way while I stole all of the muskets and powder on board. And then, depending on when in the century I was landing, I would march my ass immediately to the nearest indigenous settlement, give the guns out like candy, and make it my mission in life to murder every single white man, woman, and child on the eastern seaboard of the continent.
Dude, why does this happen all the time? Like, it's very obvious that he's talking about if he was in the shoes of those who were being genocided right? Like that's, I don't think this person is a liberal, by the way. I don't think any liberal would ever say such things. Okay. What the is wrong with these people, man? Why do they do this? I genuinely think we have a crisis of stupids. Okay. He's saying he would be John Brown for the natives. Yeah, that's what he's saying. If he, like, he's offering up a hypothetical situation clearly where he says, like, in order to stop the genocide of the indigenous population, I would, if I had a time travel or something in a hypothetical time travel capabilities in a hypothetical scenario, I would do everything I can to fight back against the white colonial occupants. Yeah, this is I don't know, the motivating principle of stories like Pocahontas or Avatar, famously the James Cameron trilogy. This is literally no different than watching Avatar and going, they want to kill all the white people. Have you guys noticed that this is an analog for how indigenous people could fight back against white settler colonial occupants? Guys, I'm my pants right now. Guy who watches, Drew Pavlov watches Dune and is shaking his head the entire time. He's like, what? What do you mean? Why won't they just stand back and allow them to take all of the spice? I don't understand it. It's very funny that it's very funny that this is, I mean, this is just how people argue now, okay? This is just how people argue now, okay? This guy is also a literal Nazi. Nat Sock organizer, professional Wignat iron dreamer, literally a Nazi, which Drew Pavlov retweeted here to basically echo the sentiment that this neo-Nazi is crying, pissing his pants over. If Hamas wins, will the results be better for women? Yes. Will it be better for LGBTQIA and cis women in Palestine? Yes. LGBTI people, trans people, and others in Palestine? Yes. Because we know what Israeli victory looks like. Israeli victory is genocide. So yeah, they won't be dead. So you're absolutely... The answer is yes. What kind of question is that? Yes. Hamas is the official governance of, is the de facto government of Gaza. So yeah, it would be favorable to Israel. And then hopefully the Palestinians can vote democratically for who they want to be led by. But, you know, if you're asking me sincerely, and if you're, I don't know, trying to clip something here, like clip my response here to be like, oh my God, I can't believe he said it. I don't know if you know this, but I famously have said Israel is 1,000 times worse than Hamas. So, and it was all over. It's in the congressional record, actually. So it's kind of a stupid question. Yes, one population, one government is doing a genocide, and the other is the de facto government of the genocided people. Of course, it's going to be better for the people that we're talking about. Just because Israel may have a large LGBTQI population in Tel Aviv, I wish everyone well and that the Middle East will be safe, that no genocide will occur. Okay. Chatter saw this photo and asked why there are no pride parades in Gaza. Yeah. I wonder, what is this? In the coming decades, the American diaspora of non-stupids will largely cause a communist revolution in Europe, trust. That is my most Professor Jiang take. You're out of your mind. The upper crust of American society that is educated are not communist, okay? They're unbelievably loyal to liberalism, okay? I said it was an insane take, but trust. Okay, that's all I got because I'm going to the Lakers game with Ms. Welch. That's right. And I'm going to be, watch me courtside. I'm not courtside, but I'm close to courtside, I think. But I don't know. I'm very excited. Lamau, they getting swept? No, not after tonight. LeBron is going to feel my aura. I'm there to show support to him and Bronny, and I'm going to have a conversation with him. I'm going to be like, LeBron, I'm going to give him telepathically, I'm going to tell him like don't be pro-Israel any longer. And then he's going to be activated with that power. He's going to be like, whoa, you're right. They'll arrest you for that.